I don't know. You're not great. I've been keeping one in my truck. More than anybody. So I have to be on top of this. Nope. What is that? Not at least in the last 5 years. This is. Okay.
Do you remember the Wi-Fi password? Never mind, I got it. It's logged in. Just took a minute.
Yeah. No. Which is just.
Gary here?
I just wanted to bring it up.
Good evening. We're going to call to order the regular meeting for the Marion Common Council, April 16th, 2024 here at City Hall. And we'll go ahead and do the prayer led by Mike Klein.
We are a community of a lot of different people, a lot of different beliefs. So that being said, join me each in your own words and each in your own way in a moment of silence. Share your prayers, share your thoughts, and share your wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Klein. And we'll go ahead and move to the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Erica Devine.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Devine. And Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Here.
Marshall, Fordyce,
Here.
Brunner,
Here.
Klein,
Here.
Devine. Here. Witten,
Here.
Cowgill,
Here.
McKinley.
Here. Thank you. We're going to move into the neighborhood spotlight, and it is my pleasure this evening to welcome Riley Tangerman, who has recently opened Lotus House. Come on up, Riley, and head over to the podium. I just want to introduce Riley, and I'm going to give her the floor and let her talk about some exciting news and a new addition to Marion. Welcome. Go ahead and turn the microphone on.
Okay, testing. Okay. Thank you all for having us. I am excited to be here. And like Nick said, I'm Riley. I just recently founded Lotus House, which is a recovery residence located in Marion, of course, over by Marion Health. And for those of you who aren't familiar with a recovery residence, and actually I'm going to pause for a minute and introduce Dania Dodd, who is also with me. And she's kind of my partner in crime. She is our certified peer recovery specialist, and I'll let her explain a little bit more about her role in a minute. And I'm going to try to keep this brief to not take up too much of your guys' time. But for those of you who don't know what a recovery residence is, it is essentially a safe and sober living environment for individuals who struggle with substance use and mental health issues. I am passionate about this work that I've begun with recovery residents and specifically with Lotus House because our community needs healing. And I've worked in the city in other capacities, downtown, specifically with the Boston Hill Center, because I believe the built environment and one's personal environment affects their mental health and their capacity to live a vibrant life. And so when I did that work downtown, I found that a lot of the people within the buildings were still sick and in need of healing. And so I kind of stepped back and took that into a more granular level, and thus birthed the idea for Lotus House and my passion for helping women heal from their substance use and mental health struggles. And I believe this is one of the best ways to tackle the issue of generational poverty that exists within our community, and helps to promote women who can be empowered to contribute positively to our community. And of course, it has a lot of other benefits, but mainly what I'm passionate about is empowering women to overcome their struggles. And we're going to do that with 7 women in our home. So it's going to run like a family. It's going to offer a safe living environment that, again, operates like a family and provides something that a lot of these women never had growing up, which is everything that they need, I think, to heal, which is a safe landing spot to come home to whenever you're not well and you need extra help and extra support. And so I'm going to turn it over to Dania to explain her role in this, but we're open to questions. We're open to additional feedback, anything that you guys have to ask about. We're open and willing to meet with individuals in the community. And you can find us on Facebook. We do not have a website yet, but just wanted to give you some information about how to contact us. But I'm going to let Dania speak for a second.
Thanks, Riley. Hi, I am Dania Dodd. So I am bringing the other side to Lotus House. I am in recovery. I've been in recovery since 2012. I have had my ins and outs with relapse and addiction, and I am proud to say that I will be sober for 2 years next month, again, since 2012. I, since getting sober this time, have secured a full-time position that I love, and I took the state test to be a peer recovery coach, and so I hooked up with Riley, and I get to do that at Lotus. I am super passionate about helping these women because I myself needed that help, and have been to 2 recovery homes. Lotus brings a fresh perspective to this. Riley has tons of great ideas, and I'm just super excited to be able to work with the women and help them heal the way that I was able to heal. I found out who I was, how to love myself again, how to be a mother, how to be a wife, and how to be an active member of this community who wants to bring the right things in. So I'm excited to help other women do the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you all. I don't know if anyone has questions, but otherwise we can let you guys carry on.
Well, thank you. Hold on one moment. You might have a few questions. Go ahead. Come on up. First of all, I wanted to thank you. I know you recently got approval through the Board of Zoning Appeals. Is that correct?
Yes. Thank you so much to the City of Marion Board of Zoning Appeals for approving us last week. We are grateful for that.
Yeah. So it's not as simple as just come on over. There are hoops she had to jump through and get approvals to turn this into a different type of zoned residence. And I will say, as we all know, all you have to do is read Facebook comments once in a while, and everyone talks about the overdoses and addictions. And so this is a huge asset, and it's for women only, correct?
Yes, it is. And I'll just add too, because I didn't really talk about, I guess, how it works, but the women will be on structured schedules. They'll all be required to work. They'll be undergoing like breathalyzers and drug screens randomly. They'll be doing lots of community work, lots of time together in the house, learning life skills. And so they're going to be in a very structured environment, undergoing their recovery, which is part of kind of the process of that. I'm forgetting the other part I was going to add, but I'll let you go.
That's okay. So if there is a woman listening right now on YouTube or somebody in the audience, how do they connect with you, and how do you, I don't know what you call, how do you become part of this recovery group?
Yeah. So women right now are able to call me, and I mean, they're able to call anytime, but basically my intake process is I kind of do a one-on-one interview with the individual to see where they're at with their recovery, see how their pathway of recovery kind of looks, and if that's going to fit in with our program. And then if we have a bed and they fit the program, then we'll take them. So if you are interested and in need of a bed, or you have a loved one who is in need of extra support, you can find us on Lotus House on Facebook. My number is on there, or you can direct message the page, and you'll get me or Dania.
Great, thank you. And one last question for me. How can the community support you? I know this isn't free, it costs money, but how can members of the community or even the council support the Lotus House?
That is a lovely question. Thank you. So I think, a huge support is just things like this, helping us get the word out, supporting people in recovery. It's often been stigmatized in the community. And so with us being welcomed into a city council meeting, that says a lot about how far we've come as a community with just the opiate epidemic, and accepting and loving on people who need healing, because we all know that addiction is a tip of an iceberg of a lot of social issues that occur in people's lives. But on top of just, public support, the women do often come from treatment or from jail with nothing. And so we're going to help support them as much as we can with things like groceries. And until they get a job, often they do need, clothing, groceries, basic hygiene things. So if anyone wants to donate, again, you can contact me and I can coordinate with you bringing those donations over. Anything from food to Aldi gift cards would be really helpful. Aldi gift cards are a great way to help them as they're grocery shopping in those first couple weeks before they have consistent income. So those are two really helpful things, and we'll be publishing kind of a needs list here in the next couple weeks of ways that you guys can very tangibly support as well. Everything that you guys would give would go straight to those girls.
Great, thank you so much. Any other council members have questions?
You asked I was going to ask about help funding too. Congratulations to you on your sobriety. That's not easy. I know I've had family members. It's a rough deal, rough go. So thank you for opening that up and giving our women in this area some ways of getting better and helping.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Riley, where are you located again?
We are located on Nelson Street in Marion, so very close to Marion Health Hospital in the beautiful red house on Nelson Street.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you so much for coming tonight and sharing, and if we can ever be of assistance, let us know. So thank you. You're welcome to
We
stay
appreciate it.
or leave if you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we're going to go ahead and move into the first responder spotlight. And before I call him up here, I'm going to read a little bit. But tonight we are recognizing, we'll say now retired, the big R word, right? Retired Marion Police Detective Jay Mitchner. And I want to read this. This came directly from Chief Gilbert. And it says, as one of my very first significant decisions as a brand new police chief in 2004, I had the privilege to offer Jay Mitchner an opportunity to start a career of service with Marion Police Department. I was necessarily familiar with Jay's resume and his background by then, based on the pretty thorough hiring process and background investigation. Jay presented several valuable qualities, including serving our great country in the United States Air Force and having success in the private sector in a competitive industry that required excellent people skills. But his most valuable virtue was an obvious sincerity in his desire to serve a cause larger than himself and a humble but confident demeanor. Thank goodness I didn't screw that decision up and hired Jay. I've not regretted that decision for one single minute since then. Jay has proven himself to be a fantastic role model, partner, and servant leader. Jay toiled in the patrol ranks for several years, being a courageous, trustworthy partner, helping people and standing up to crooks on the front lines. As one of my final significant decisions as chief during my first assignment in the job, I assigned Jay to the Criminal Investigations Division as a detective. In short, as effective as he was serving in the patrol division, Jay excelled even more as a detective. His impact on his peer detectives and younger officers and his service to many, many victims cannot be calculated. Many, many victims were afforded some justice, and many, many bad guys were held accountable for Jay's astute investigative work. Importantly, Jay was always available for the 3 a.m. homicide callouts, and every partner he worked with would tell you of his loyalty and fidelity. And finally, one of the first significant issues I had to deal with this past January when reassuming the chief's job was to reluctantly accept Jay's notification that he intended to retire from the Marion Police Department and start a new journey. After several failed attempts to have Jay reconsider, I had to accept that Jay's time with us was coming to an end. He is and will be missed as a partner, as a crime fighter, as a servant. On behalf of your partners through the years, we love you, Jay. Godspeed. From Chief Gilbert. So, retired detective Jay Mitchell, if you could just come up here real quick.
Always. Always.
Thank you so much for your service. 20 years, right?
Yes.
So you were at least able to get all 20 years in for his retirement, employee retention, or employee retirement fund. But
Correct.
more importantly, you did leave a lasting impact on this community. We as a council just wanted to thank you for that. And we wish you the best in your future endeavors. So if we can just get a handshake photo, and we do have a flag that will be flown over City Hall. We still don't have it yet. So we're going to have a flag to present to you. We just weren't able to get it in time today.
Thank
so
you.
appreciate you. Let's get a
Thank you very
photo right here. And let's do it in front here. Yeah. And I appreciate you putting up with the heat out here. We'll be addressing that here in a moment. Here, we'll take a handshake here. All right, there we go. All right. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate your service. Anything you'd like to say? The floor is yours, retired detective.
So, when Chief Gilbert approached me with this, I was reluctant because I never wanted the spotlight on me. It was always the people that of the city and the ones I worked with and for. So just to be real brief, again, not to make this about me, but while I have the opportunity now as a citizen for the council, I challenge each and every one of you to get those officers paid. They deserve it. It's no different. Coming to Marion for an officer is no different than you going to a store and trying to buy something to find the best bargain. That's what these guys are doing. If you can't get them a good deal, they'll go down the street and do it. And we're losing good people every day. It's not fair to the citizens here. So with that, I thank each and every one of you. And to my brothers in blue, always have your six. God bless you.
Appreciate it. And agree with you more. Yep. Thank you, retired Marion Police Detective Jay Mitchner. We're going to go ahead and move on to the approval of minutes for the regular meeting from April 2nd, 2024. Did everyone get an opportunity to review those? Okay.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from Vice President Cowgill and a second by Councilman Kane. Any discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Fordice,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Divine. Yes. Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Abstain. By the way, it's good to be back. I'm sorry I missed the last meeting. We're going to move into the consideration and ratification of pre-approved claims. I would entertain a motion.
I so move. Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Kane and a second by Councilman Witten. Any discussion? No discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Fordice.
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Divine. Yes. Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Moving on to consideration of claims. Again, I would entertain a motion.
I also so move.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Kane, second by Vice President Cowgill. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Fordice.
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Divine. Yes. Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Moving on to committee reports. Any council members have any committee reports?
I do. I have two, as a matter of fact. Thank you. The first one is a reminder to the Compliance Committee and anybody else who wants to show up. We're going to have a meeting at 6 o'clock on May 8th. 6 o'clock, May 8th, to go over abatements and those reports. So I'm hoping they're in. Like to have those in by 4 o'clock on May 8th. And the second thing, let me find my notes so I don't blow this. The second is the Aviation Board met April 4th. They reviewed their capital improvement projects for the next several years, the runway, the taxiway improvement and construction, fuel storage tanks, and a footnote to that. At 10 o'clock this coming Saturday in Hangar C, airport designer Ryan McCroskey of Wolpert Engineering is going to go over the airport's 5-year improvement plan. And that's open for folks. Consider that an invitation. 10 o'clock in Hangar C at the airport. The board also asked if I would discuss with the mayor the possibility for funding for some airport improvements. And the mayor and I talked, and Mayor will have more about that in the future. He's got some ideas of his own about funding. So those are my reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Klein. Any other committee reports? Councilwoman Devine.
The Board of Works met this week.
They did the follow-up to the 3 bids that came in regarding the Riverwalk Trail asphalt overlay, the street signs, and then the placement of the street signs. They did accept the low bids on the Riverwalk Trail asphalt overlay and the new street sign creations, but have rejected all bids on the installation. They said that was way beyond the engineering estimate and they would figure something else out. I assume we'll hear what that is when they get there. Also, the police department brought to the Board of Works, in addition, position of a civilian assistant to the Criminal Investigations Division. And my understanding is the chief will bring that to us once he's got all that ready for the council to review. Looking at having someone help be able to do more of the clerical phone calls side of the investigations to allow the detectives to continue to be out on the street working the scenes is probably the simplest way to describe it. And so he'll bring that to us next meeting, the meeting after, next meeting. So that's what's going on in the Board of Works.
Thank you, Councilwoman Devine. Any other committee reports? I just have one from the Grant County Growth Council. Some of you may have already seen this in the news or on social media, but the Growth Council had a housing study completed. And the long and short of it is the study reveals that from a consumer market perspective, between 340 and 450 new rental and for sale housing units can be leased or sold in Grant County annually over the next 5 years. So the demand compromises various household types, with families accounting for 33%, empty nesters and retirees for 30%, and younger singles and couples for 36%. So basically what we took out of that is we need more housing in Grant County. And I can attest to that. When I moved here, I couldn't find anything that was suitable for my family. So anybody listening out there, Marion is open for business, for development. We'd be happy to discuss new housing units and new rental units in Marion. So that came from the Growth Council. It was an independent study. And while I'm excited to hear that we need more, I wish we didn't have to say we needed more. But Marion's open. So that's all I have from the Growth Council. If there's no other committee reports, we'll go ahead and move on to unfinished business. And the appropriation ordinance 9-2024, second reading and public hearing.
An ordinance of the city of Marion, Indiana, appropriating certain funds for the city of Marion, Indiana, and providing for the effective date thereof, from ARPA for public safety for $1,716,912. Speaking Mayor Ronald Morrell Jr., Fire Chief Curtis Garr, and Police Chief David Gilbert.
Okay. It's a privilege again to be in front of this great esteemed council, and I'm very excited to be at the second reading for what I would like to call one of the most important things we've done thus far. And I'll reiterate this analogy because I love it for our public safety. The city of Marion is it's like a wheel, and we have different spokes that contribute to the city, you know, and everything is important to keep our city going. But then there's this center hubcap, and public safety is that center hubcap. These men and women who serve us, risk their lives on a daily basis, deserve everything that we can give them in reasonable effort, and we must do everything we can to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward to accommodate for our public safety. Because any of the cool things that I'm working on and trying to do, public safety is one of the first things that comes up in every developer's conversation that I'm having. Every new citizen that I'm trying to recruit to Marion, public safety is one of the top things they bring up. So I ask humbly and boldly that we move forward and pass this to be able to get our public safety the equipment that they need to be successful in protecting us. And I mean, I like sharing this story because I had the chance to ride along with both the police and fire. And let me tell you, you have to be a special person to do this. You have to be a very special person to do this. And we too often take what they do for granted. And I want to make sure that we're not doing that anymore and that we give them everything that they need to be successful in our city.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Well said.
So I just want to give some clarity. People listening at home or in the audience that haven't heard it. I know we go over this the first meeting, but different people listen to the second meeting and get more questions. But Chief Gilbert, by the way, appreciate what you gave us and submitted, very thorough. There's everything in here. I fully support. I will say that the money for this. So I've been asked by a few people.
Allowed to be late, aren't I?
Yeah. Madam Clerk, if you could just note the record that Councilman Marshall is present. All right. So I wanted to clarify it. A few people mentioned where's this money coming from? What's ARPA? So the American Rescue Plan Act was money that the federal government basically dished out to communities in the effort to help recover from loss of income due to tax revenue dropping. They thought the economy was going to, basically collapse and wanted to keep pushing money out and make sure that the communities, the municipalities and the cities still had money to function, or even to spend money to invest in certain things in the community just to keep stimulating the economy. Those restrictions have loosened. And basically in the last year or two, the restrictions were loosened to the point where if you were within a certain amount of funds, the city could elect to do whatever they want with it. And the city of Marion has to spend all about $6 million by the end of this year. It's a great problem to have. This money is your taxpayer money that went to the federal government that is now coming back to our city. So no taxes were raised. This money came to us because the federal government decided to give it to us. And so I'm honored to be basically, I'm going to vote yes on this for the first amount of that 6 million to go to public safety. And if there is not a better fitting name than the American Rescue Plan Act for this first approval, I don't know what is, because our community needs rescued from crime. It needs rescued from heartache and hurt. Our police and fire deserve all the tools that they need to be able to serve this great community. And I don't have any questions for you, Chief. You did an excellent job presenting everything that you would like to do with the department, including some of the money in there for recruiting officers. And that is, I know, one of the big issues at the police department is finding officers. And so some of this money will go towards helping us reach out and find those good candidates. So that's all I have. Any other council members? Thank you, Chief Gilbert.
Thank you.
Fire Chief Gar, welcome.
Hello, how are you? Good to see you all again. Appreciate it. Any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
I too, as a former firefighter, fully in support of this. I actually watched Marion is no different from every other city out there. Public safety, they always get passed by because, wow, they take up a big part of the budget and they do that. Well, they do that in every city. But these guys have got to have the right equipment to do their job, because when we all call 911 for them to come and get us, if they don't have the equipment to do their job, then we're in trouble too. Not just, their lives, they're putting their own lives at risk. It's trying to get us and save our lives as well. This is due, way due. I know the desperation that we are on trucks on the fire department. I mean, we're getting close to, man, if another truck breaks down, we may have to figure out how to run a station. It's that desperate. And these don't come, we won't get this truck till the 1st of next year. So we have to get this stuff done now in order to get, and if we don't do it now, it'll be 2 years before the truck gets here. So, yeah, I know how desperate the police and fire need these things, and I congratulate Mayor Morrell for bringing this for us so we can get this taken care of.
Might add, this for the fire department is replacing one truck, right? So one fire truck is not cheap. And the alternative, if we didn't do this, is like Vice President Calgill said, we wait. The current truck is way beyond its lifespan. You can't find parts, or if you do, they're not even working correctly. And this is a very important fire truck that could be the one that responds to a motor vehicle accident or responds to your house in a medical emergency. The other alternative is if we didn't use the money out of the ARP fund, the city either has to take it out of general fund, and which takes away from other things we want to purchase, or we have to go out and get a bond, which ends up costing the city more money. Essentially, a bond is a loan, and in layman's term, it's a loan for the city, and it's going to cost us more money. So this approval allows us to purchase it outright. No interest, no bond. It's done and paid for, and we save money in the long term by just paying it all up front. So I just wanted to make sure the public was clear on that. I did want to add for the police department, I know you're still standing up there, but the police department, I want to run down real quick. It includes flock cameras, Wi-Fi mobile internet access for patrol units, Gene Team technology investment, drone program expansion, pistol red dot optics technology, recruitment, hiring, retention, equipment, services, and technology, polygraph examiner certification, canine replacement, training ammunition, and replacement duty grade ammunition. That's basically the long and short for what the police department wants. Just want to make sure the community knows all those fine things that are going to go to the police department. So, any other council members?
I would add that the police department had some vehicles in theirs too.
Yeah, that's on the front page. I went to page 2 right away. So that's probably one of the biggest ones is the police department has vehicles that are older than some of our kids, teenage kids, or 15, 16, 20 years old. As a former police officer, I know the wear and tear that goes on these vehicles, even if you take good care of them. And usually 10 years is a good life cycle. We're way beyond life cycle. This actually allows the police department to kind of catch up and allow the mayor and the chief of police to start putting together a plan for regular replacement. So that way we know our police officers have good operating vehicles in the future. So while this is kind of, we'll say, a patch now, my anticipation is moving forward with the mayor and the police chief that we put together a plan that's comprehensive so we don't run into this situation in the future where we've got cars on the street 16 years old that are barely hanging on. I can attest the first police vehicle I ever had, brakes were going out. I was running hot. I barely made it alive. It was nerve wracking because I got the hand-me-down that was 16 years old. So I'm excited to see the new fleet come in and to see what comes future for the police department and the fire department. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Chief Carr. Mayor, you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay, we're going to go to the public hearing portion for this appropriation ordinance. And so if you would like to come up to the microphone for the public hearing, go ahead and make your way up there. And please state your name, your address, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Bill Creech. I live at 1409 Ironwood here in Marion. And first off, I'd like to say that I 100% support what you're doing here. But I would like to throw this out there that maybe we get above the curve on this and we put all the ARCA funds in to get our police and our fire above where we've been at before. And it's been neglected. So what I'd like to see, and I think what we need to do, is go ahead and just eliminate this problem. Councilman Marshall had said in a prior meeting that he was surprised that we didn't have a reserve fund or something there. So I think that would be something, once we got above the curve, that the mayor, the police chief, and the fire chief could set up to work and appropriate the money, make sure it's very targeted on what you wanted it for, and it couldn't be borrowed from there. And I think that that's what I think we'd like to do. And I guess the old saying, come big or stay home, you know, let's just get above the curve on this public safety. We keep talking about public safety and just quit piecemealing things together, a little bit here, a little bit there, plan this, plan that. Let's just get above the curve on it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Creech. I'm sure that the Chief Gilbert, that's music to his ears. But I'm sure they'll consider everything. And as a council, we take what they ask. And so, that's why we're hopefully going to approve this today. I'm going to be a yes vote on it because I think this is a substantial step forward in getting ahead of that curve. So I agree with you. But we'll let the mayor and the other department heads make that determination and then come to us and make that request. So anybody else for public hearing? Welcome. If you could just, like I said, say your name, your address, and you get 3 minutes.
Is it okay? It's on. All right. Well, sorry. Okay, my name is Javon Washington, address 720 West Jeffers Avenue, over by the hospital. And I just want to say I am the Dean of Students at Marion High School. And I do agree with Bill. I don't know if you should throw all of the funds at it, but working with younger people right now, seeing where things are going, I will say first, we have one of, if not the best school system in the county by far. That's for sure. I'm in there and I know I've taught for 5 years and then now I'm the dean. So I will say that for sure. It is challenging sometimes to see what our kids go through. The things that they bring to school, their issues that they bring to school that they had the night before. It's hard to argue against any funding for public safety at all. And I won't argue against it at all. I would like to see a little more go toward it, but that amount that you have set, that's good. That's going to help a lot. I know that oftentimes we're a separate entity, but we want some police and fire come in and train some of our students, have some time to come in and show what they do, or we can set a field trip and bring them to see what they can do with their lives and how they can impact our city. And that might get them to want to stay more than Marion's boring and I want to leave. It's all about keeping them here, growing them. If we send them out, it's to get educated and then bring all of that back to us. So anything that you can do for public safety, I agree with Mr. Creech. Please do that.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. The microphone is still open. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone else come to the microphone, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And I really appreciate both of your input, and it's very refreshing to hear nothing but support for our public safety in our community. Okay. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend the rules on appropriation ordinance number 9, 2024.
I have a motion to suspend the rules by Councilman Kane and a second by Councilman Klein. Any discussion? No discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Divine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Rules have been suspended. I would entertain another motion.
Mr. President, I move that we pass appropriation ordinance number 9, 2024. Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Kane, a second by Councilman Witten. Any discussion? With no discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Divine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Appropriation ordinance 9-2024 has passed. Thank you, both Chief Gilbert and Chief Gar, and good luck. Lots of fun stuff. Okay, we're going to move on to General Ordinance 6-2024, second reading and public hearing.
An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Marion, Grant County, Indiana, establishing municipal riverfront development project areas within the City of Marion. Speaking, Mayor Ronald Morrell, Jr.
Okay. Economic development is a hot button that we always talk about when we're campaigning, and it's become a platitude statement that we use often. But this is a situation where the rubber actually meets the road, where economic development and the increasing our tool bag and our toolbox to make economic development possible in our city is right in front of us. The development of a riverfront district is renowned around the state for increasing concentrated economic development. I did a lot of research on this and reached out to a lot of different cities and organizations to be able to get their witness and their testimony about, what happened and why they did it and how much of a success it was. So with the proposal of a riverfront district in our city, the main goal is how do we use this to grow our city, and specifically how do we use this to grow our downtown. I'll speak briefly about the process before I have some people who've traveled some near and far to come and share about their experiences with the riverfront district as a part of my presentation. But I want to speak shortly about the process of this and how it works. So from administration, we would create a application, and people would fill this out. And then after this is filled out, I would then bring this to the city council for a resolution, meaning that each additional entity that wants to be opened up in the riverfront has to be approved by you all. After this is approved, this will be then presented to the state ATC for the ultimate approval or denial. That's for each entity that is interested in opening up in the riverfront. In addition to, if and when we were to pass this, it still has to go to the state for the ultimate approval if they're going to allow us to have a riverfront or not. So I wanted to go through some of these, and pardon this, this is longer than my normal presentation, but I think this is really important for our city. So from the chief executive, the CEO of AIM, he writes, "Dear Mayor Morrell, more than 20 years ago, the Indiana General Assembly established a framework for riverfront development districts to remove barriers to quality economic development initiatives that foster growth, vibrancy, and engaging experiences for both residents and visitors alike. While initially designed to provide affordable opportunities for local restaurants to grow in communities, the anecdotal feedback shows the benefits have far exceeded these expectations. AIM has been a longtime supporter of the riverfront development districts and has been engaged over the years in improving the legislation to include Hoosier towns. We have seen districts implemented from the southeast to the northwest corners of our state. While issues may have arisen, to my knowledge, the districts have not negatively impacted existing businesses. Quite the contrary. In Kokomo, housing, recreation, and entertainment venues have thrived in their district. And the initial years of Kokomo's district occurred in an economically trying time all over Indiana, including the industry-heavy city. AIM has requested a comprehensive list of Indiana's riverfront development districts from the Indiana Alcohol and Tobacco Commission. Once that list is provided, I will forward it to your attention. As you come to the end of your deliberations, please do not hesitate to reach out to me to discuss AIM's support of the riverfront district. With that being said, our AIM representative and former mayor of Warsaw, Indiana, Mr. Joe Thaler is here, and I'd like to call him up at this time.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Talmer.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, constituents. Before I start, I gotta admit, this is really odd. I've spent the last 24 years on this side, 12 years as a council member and 12 years as mayor from the city of Warsaw. With that being said, my purpose tonight is to talk specifically how Riverfront District has impacted the city of Warsaw. As the mayor mentioned, cities and towns across the state of Indiana have implemented this. And I'd just like to give just a small glimpse of how we have used riverfront licenses, again, with existing food and beverage establishments thriving and continuing to grow. So initially, our community, like yours, have had this vision of a vibrant downtown. Vibrancy, obviously, of a downtown is a critical part of why people move into your community. You know, your public safety, your housing, your schools, and the vibrancy of your downtown are what people see when they come into the community. And having a vibrant downtown is a critical part of it sounds like what just about any community tries to establish to separate themselves from others. So when I became mayor, I continued to share the vision of the previous mayor to improve our downtown. And we had a downtown study done. We created new streetscapes. We added facade improvement grants. We created a revolving loan fund. Not just riverfront liquor licenses, but all of the tools to try and improve our downtown. We worked with our Ride Walk Committee to make our downtown connective. But as we moved ahead, I was approached in 2017 by a young man who wanted to start a high-end restaurant, come in and completely rehab 2 buildings, add a meeting space, which was desperately needed, that they could have small meetings and conferences at. But he was hamstrung by there was no availability of a liquor license in the community. So he approached me with the riverfront license, which I decided made a lot of sense with what we were trying to do downtown. And as I look back, this was an incentive. This was an incentive for him to come in and develop. My guess is, the cost of liquor licenses in our community, I spoke with a gentleman this morning, had 2 of them, they're both around $50,000. And that, they vary by community. It's a supply and demand thing. But having this riverfront district established by our council gave us the ability to incentivize developers to come into our community and create a food and beverage industry that essentially created a destination in our downtown. We had 5 establishments that allowed alcohol in our downtown before this gentleman started, and we now have 11. And those 6, I believe 5 of them are riverfront licenses. We don't have 11 honky-tonk bars. We don't have 11 high-end restaurants. We have a pizza parlor with alcohol. We have a couple family restaurants. We have a high-end steakhouse. We have something for everyone. And again, this creates a downtown destination. On Friday and Saturday nights, if you're in our community, I'd ask you to go downtown, try and get a bite to eat. And finding a parking space is becoming very difficult in the downtown. I talked with a second developer who's also taken advantage of a riverfront license, but he actually had paid for 2 licenses, and he developed 2 restaurants. And then when he was going on to the 3rd concept, he actually developed a whiskey room, and he was able to obtain a riverfront license. So he's on both sides of it. He had 2 licenses that he paid $50,000 a piece for. And then he's got his riverfront license. And he quoted me this morning. He said, density drives growth in your downtown. And we're talking about density, not only of food and beverage, that's just the thing that sparks the vibrancy in the downtown. But, you know, I heard you talking about housing tonight. You know, we've got a housing problem in Warsaw, and we're using that downtown vibrancy to try and attract housing in the upstairs of our buildings, as well as a mixed-use apartment. We've developed a vibrant art scene in our downtown. And again, it just improves the walkability of the downtown. People come downtown on a good night. You know, they may go have a whiskey in the whiskey room. They may then go across to the high-end restaurant, or they may bring their family down to the Mexican restaurant or to the other brew pub that we've got. And then walk out, enjoy the art, walk around the courthouse. And again, it creates a destination in your downtown. I believe it's a critical step to meet your own vision for a vibrant downtown. And this is an economic development tool that's been really given to you by the state. And I would just support this type of licensure, seeing what it's done in our community for the past 10 years. So I'd be happy to take any questions before I sit down.
We'll take questions.
Okay, thank you.
So the success of this is shown in that community, and AIM is a very big supporter of this. And not only that, all of our statewide representatives are backing this as well. As to my concern, I'm excited to express my full support for establishing a riverfront district in Marion, Indiana. As your state senator, I believe this initiative is key to driving economic development and revitalizing our region. A well-designed district can spur private investment, increasing property values and attracting developers. This can lead to the creation of new businesses, restaurants, hotels, and residential properties, boosting our community's economic vitality. Additionally, a riverfront district fosters community engagement and placemaking. Accessible public spaces, parks, and recreational amenities will create gathering places for residents to relax and socialize, enhancing our overall quality of life. In conclusion, establishing a riverfront district is crucial for economic development, attracting visitors, and improving our community's livability. As your state senator, I'm committed to supporting this initiative and working with local stakeholders to ensure its success. Thank you for your dedication to our community. Please reach out if you need any further assistance. Senator Andy Zay. I'm writing to express my full support for Marion Riverfront Development District project. As a resident of Marion, I believe that using the city's riverfront is an excellent way to boost tourism and revenue. This project will lead to economic development, job opportunities, and increasing in property value, and an opportunity to attract new visitors in Marion. Furthermore, this project will support the efforts of the people who work hard to revitalize our downtown in Marion. Additionally, it will provide entertainment and cultural opportunities for residents and visitors alike. By capitalizing on riverfront development, this project will draw more people to discover the beauty of Marion. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Representative Lloyd Goss-Reeves. I was going to read all these, but it's hot in here. I'm sweating. We'll get that figured out later. But not only is this supported by AIM and our statewide representatives and a whole list of other cities, which I think I emailed you all of these support letters, but I can make them available for the public as well. Locally, this is a big deal. So as a part of my presentation as well, I have some local people who are invested in the city of Marion, or who will be looking to, grow their business from this riverfront development district. So at this time, I would like to have Keith and Yuriana Bennett come if you're still here.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, Mr. McKinley, and the rest of the members of the council. Am I on? Can you hear me now?
You're good.
My name is Keith Bennett. This is my wife, Judy, and she's probably who you all recognize. 5 years ago, we saw an opportunity for downtown, for an opportunity for a Mexican restaurant downtown. And so we invested our savings into that. And we said, we're going to go with this. And so we did it. And here we are 5 years later, and we have made such a connection with the community, the downtown community, and we've had a great time. We have currently outgrown our little space down there in the building that we are in. Not only that, we're kind of getting priced out. We lease that space, we do not own it. There's a whole lot more that we can do in the downtown. We have vision for a whole lot more opportunity. And we would like to invest in that. And we would like to own our own building. As you know, or maybe don't know, there's not a lot of buildings downtown with kitchens in them that could make restaurants. So it's going to be a significant investment for us to do that, to build a restaurant and own our own building so that we can control our own destiny. So that being said, we need to increase our revenue. One of the ways that we can do that is by offering different things on the menu and having a liquor license and whatnot that we can add to our revenue. So it's going to help us grow. We live right out on Marks Area Drive. Been a part of this community ever since I graduated high school in 1990. When my dad said it's time for you to get your own house, I decided that I wanted to live in Marion. I got a job at Hartson Kennedy, and I've lived here ever since. I'm invested in this community. We want to continue to invest in this community, and it's things like this that's going to give us the opportunity to continue to grow in this community and be a part of the downtown area and be a part of all of our constituents' lives that come in every day to our restaurant. Do you have anything? Thank you. Thank you so much, Mayor and council members. We really appreciate it.
And thank you for choosing Marion and staying with Marion.
Additionally, part of our presentation, I have with us the new Grant County Economic Growth Council Director, Mr. Chuck Baker.
Thank you, Chuck, and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. President, Council, Mayor. Thanks for giving me a chance to say a couple words. A little bit out of my element. You all know me as the Director of Marion Utilities. And so, as you know, making that transition here within the next few weeks. Actually, I've been working towards that for several weeks now, a couple of months or more, probably more than that. One of the things that I've learned in the process as I'm trying to get up to speed in this new world of economic development, I've met with a ton of folks who know the business, who've been around for decades, and there are a couple of them in the room tonight. And folks who I've talked to will tell you and have told me that one of the number one elements in regards to economic development in our age that we live today is quality of place, quality of life. People want to know that where they live, where they move, where they work, where they go to school, whatever they're going to do, that it's a good place to live and there are amenities. Mr. President, you talked about the housing study that was done. That's one of the things, one of the outcomes of that study was that we need more adequate housing for families. We need more adequate housing to draw folks into the community, employers who look at our community for development. Those are the things that they're looking for. And so this riverfront district and this riverfront project is a perfect example of how investment in quality of life will make a big difference. If you look at data regarding this issue, there's a lot of data out there that will tell you that the return on investment for these kinds of projects is anywhere from 6 to 1 to 40 to 1. That's a pretty good investment. One of the other pieces of data that you can find if you look out there, property values tend to increase anywhere from 24% to 49%. Those are based on actual communities that have taken the steps that the mayor is leading us into in Marion and that the council is considering this evening. So just from an economic development perspective, I would just say that the Growth Council would be supportive of this type of development. And I think what it leads to is just opportunities for, again, employers who are looking at the community to see positive things, positive investment, positive opportunities, good quality of place. And I think that that's going to be a game changer in Marion, and I applaud the efforts to move forward in that way. Thank you.
And then lastly, from economic development and a density standpoint, another part of my presentation is the owner of the machine gun, Mr. Justin Riddle.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle. Welcome.
Thank you very much, everybody. Firstly, I'd like to take a moment to give gratitude to everybody sitting in front of me, President, Council. Thank you very much for taking the time and effort out of your otherwise busy lives to take the pressure of putting the roadmap of our town and the decisions that hold a lot of gravity on your own shoulders. So I just want to let you know that there's a huge amount of appreciation in the community for all that you do. And speaking of that, the decision on this matter has a lot of gravity for the roadmap of our city going into the future, and it will echo whichever way that you decide. I've lived here my whole life. I'm 38. I've been doing business in this town for over 20 years. I've watched a lot of my friends move away because of the lack of exactly what we're talking about tonight. There's not quality of life here to retain the young, brilliant people that this town produces. They get educated and they stay away. It's a shame because there's a lot of opportunity here. My whole life, I've watched a lot of things leave Marion. I've watched very few things come. So these decisions make ripples into the community, and I would argue that we need ripples because we've had a state of stagnation for a very long time. The competition that something like this would bring would breed the kind of innovation that could lead to investment into other sectors of our city. It doesn't have to be a river district. The next project could be something in the south end of town. The next project could be in the west end of town. We don't know. But what we do know is that if we just keep on the same path that we're on, we're going to stay in the same situation that we're in. And that's not good for anybody. In order to bear fruit, you have to plant seeds. And we haven't done that for a very long time in this community. In order to create an environment for interest of investment from large firms that have higher paying wage jobs, we're going to need to create the quality of life that they expect in order to get a pool of employees to facilitate that kind of operation. There's no way around that. The risk, the reward to the risk is to me is almost non-existent. We're going to add some liquor licenses to the community, get a new zoning, and natural competition will tell us if we can even sustain that many more liquor licenses. There's no reason to have a famine mentality about it at all. I think that everyone should be open-minded, and that this could be a very good piece of the momentum that our city needs to propel ourselves into a positive future. And I would love to be a part of it. And circling back to some of the other things that were talked about earlier, from retiring Detective Mitchner to Police Chief Gilbert, Fire Chief Garr, in order to raise these monies that we need to get above the curb on paying our police officers more, to get above the curb on equipping them more, we have to produce more revenues. And if we stay into a stagnant situation, we're not going to produce those revenues. I've never been a person that's sees a huge victory in a restaurant or a bar coming to town, because they generally take a lot more money off of the streets than they put into them. So being a restaurant owner, I guess that's kind of the antithesis of what I need to be saying. But what I'm saying is we do need to create the environment that other people with bigger businesses have in order to move to our city. And with that, I would just like to leave you guys with another expression of gratitude. Thank you for all the support that you give our city.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle, and we appreciate your investment in our community.
You can tell I really like to eat. And then another one of my favorite places to eat downtown is Obi's Barbecue, and I'm thankful for the owner Jeff to be here tonight to speak as part of my presentation as well.
Welcome, Mr. Obi.
Thank you. And thank you guys for allowing me to come up here and talk about this. I never thought that the community would embrace my restaurant so much. I didn't anticipate the rapid growth that we had. So I am thankful to the community. I really am, because without you, we wouldn't be there. But I think that this riverfront, I think that's going to help any restaurant downtown that comes in, besides me, to be able to expand. Right now, we just have a beer and wine license. And I feel if we have that liquor license, the three-way, I think we can actually start offering, higher end drinks. And it's just something to enjoy with your dinner. I'm not going to turn it into a bar because I'm still a family restaurant. So I think this would be beneficial, because we still have empty buildings downtown. So I think that would incentivize people to open up more downtown entertainment spots. I've had several people come into the restaurant and they're like, well, what do you need downtown? I'm like, entertainment, plain and simple. And that was because there were people who have bought buildings downtown, and they've asked me, what does it need? Entertainment. That's plain and simple. So I appreciate you guys allowing me to come up here and talk about this. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Obi.
I don't want this to be pitched as the liquor ordinance, because it's so much more than that. This is more than just a liquor ordinance. This is the execution of economic development in our downtown region. With the establishment of this ordinance, if and when it were to pass, according to the data you hear from our new growth council director, property values double in this region instantly. This is not me shooting from the hip and making something up. You heard the stats that Mr. Baker shared. Once we do this, we have the ability to double people's investments in our riverfront downtown region. I could talk about this all night, but I won't keep us here forever. I wish I could make this up, but I'm not. My graphics set up a walkout, and if I'm lying, but there's restaurants that want to open up and develop here right now are just waiting on this. Like literally just waiting on this and want to come into the city. And I'm telling you, they all called already. They're just waiting. They're just waiting on this. I wish I could make it up. I wish I was trying to fabricate some kind of story, but this is an economic development tool that has the power to change our town like this. And I said something earlier, people thought I was being crazy, but I really mean this from my heart. This is the biggest thing that Marion's going to experience since the factories closed. That's how much of an impact this can have on our city, instantly. And with that, I'll be done.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate that. I did want to provide, for those in the room, prepared ahead of time, I printed out 20 copies, color copies of where this riverfront district is. Vice President Calgo, would you mind putting them on the table? If anyone wants one, if you're not sure where this is, you're welcome to come up and grab a map. So I wanted to clarify for the people watching at home and in the room, and if you're looking at the map or you've seen it, you can follow along. But basically, I took the time to write out the boundaries. It says basically from the river to Nebraska, down to 4th Street, east on 4th to Boots, south on Boots to 9th, east on 9th to McClure, north on McClure to 4th, east on 4th to the river, and then it just follows the river. So it includes Ballard Field and it goes all the way back to Nebraska. So while I know this is called the riverfront, this really encompasses all of downtown and also captures that huge portion that leads up to the river as well. I just wanted to give some clarity on that. And then, Mayor, if you could articulate on the liquor licenses, how many liquor licenses additionally does it bring into this district?
That's at the discretion of the administration and the council.
Okay, thank you. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, I just want to make sure all the information is correct. Because I feel like I've heard some misinformation on. I've read through these and understand what these say, and not only the riverfront development area, but also the door that we'll get to as well. But specifically for this, the liquor licenses are non-transferable. They're limited and they cannot be taken out of that development area. So I really like analogies. And so my point of view on the liquor licenses is this is more like a lease, right? So you lease a car, you pay a fee and you give it back. And then somebody goes and buys it. Nobody ends up buying this, but the next business or restaurant can come along and then pay the fee, continue leasing that. Whereas the other liquor licenses in town are fully owned, can go anywhere, can be sold. These cannot be sold. They are not transferable, and they cannot leave this zone. And there's extra layers of approval needed for these that come to the mayor's office, RDC, et cetera. And so there's a little more levels of approval needed. So not just anybody can come in and take those. And I would believe that the anticipation for these extra licenses could be available for restaurants that don't currently have one, whether they're already in the city or want to bring a restaurant from out of town. Am I correct, Mayor?
Yeah, so the lease analogy is really great. So you would never own this liquor license, so you can't like resell it. This is the city is limited to you to operate within that district, and once you're done, go out of business, whatever, it comes back to the city. And then in the last part, so if somebody's in the district and they already have a license, I mean, they can roll the dice and sell their other one, try to get one, but you guys have the approval of that. So it's well within the law to do that, but it's a dice roll. Yeah.
Great, thank you for that clarity. Any other questions? Oh, we have to move to the public hearing, but do you want to ask the mayor any questions? Go ahead.
I'm glad you just said that on talking about the licensing coming into town, because I know that there's been talk about some establishments that may have one, then, you know, they'll come in and buy a cheap one and then turn around and sell theirs. Now in order for to get another one, they've got to get rid of theirs first. And I'm like you, it's a dice roll, because obviously we've got a number of people already want to apply for these, no more than what we're going to have. So I just want to make sure that everybody does understand that you can't say, well, heck, I'm going to buy this one cheap and then sell this one for a big profit, because we're not going to allow that to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, so it's well within the law to do that, but so they have to, right. Yes, right.
Councilman Brenner?
Just wanted to make a point. The old saying goes, if they build it, they will come. And I think we all saw about a week ago what could happen in this community when we had the big event downtown with the eclipse, and read a big article earlier this week in the Star where a lot of communities were very disappointed in the eclipse gatherings that they had. I don't think anybody was disappointed in what we had down here, because I thought it was really, really well done, everything that went into that. So I think what you're saying, Mayor, and if that would be a nice what went on that day to show the people that it can work, is when you do what you were talking about doing. I think this community is just waiting and ready to have something like this happen. So thank you for what you're attempting to do.
All right, if there's no other questions, we're going to go ahead and move it to the public hearing portion. And the microphone is open if anyone would like to come up and speak. And if you could just, again, state your name and your address. And also, if you could clarify if you're in support or not.
Okay. My name's Alan Gray. I'm coming from the Green Olive Pub, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Grant County Tavern Association. Who we are as the name implies, the Grant County Taverns, and we are a group that's we are a nonprofit. We do a lot of fundraising for mostly within our bars, but then we do different things throughout the community. We've had a couple of toy giveaways that we've done. We've helped over 200 kids twice. We've raised money for the Boys and Girls Club, and we're not here to be against this by any means. Marion's been good to us. We want to see growth in Marion, but we do have some concerns. You know, we want people to invest in Marion. We've already done that. So we've got three-way license. We're concerned about, you know, what kind of impact that's going to have on our licenses and our businesses that we already have invested in Marion. Whether, you know, maybe it's going to double our business, but have we done any kind of studies to see where we stand, the people that are already here in business, that already have three ways? Because it appears that most of this is about alcohol and three-way license, at least Ordinance 7 is. We're not against growth in Marion. This community has been great to us, but we have concerns. We rely mostly on entertainment dollars for our businesses to survive. So if we bring in, we don't know how many licenses do we for sure.
Well, this is not a question and answer. This is more just public statement. You're welcome to ask. The mayor can address that after the public hearing.
Yeah, so we don't know how many it's going to bring in, but no matter what, when we're looking at entertainment dollars, there's so many entertainment dollars that are available. So if we bring in 2, 3, 4, whatever liquor license there is, it divides up that entertainment dollar, and we're concerned about our existing businesses, what it's going to do to our businesses that are already there. We're doing well. The city treats us great. Our customers are fantastic, but we have concerns that we'd like to have some answers for. You know, who gets the license? What's the process on distributing them? I think I've learned a little bit of that it'll be through the council, correct? We, you know, and employees, as far as employers, we probably, I don't have a firm number, but 200 plus just in our little community of employees, people that have families that rely on us to feed their families.
You have 15 seconds, just so you know.
Okay, well, having said that, I mean, I would just like to see some research done. So people reach out to us and talk to us, because it is about the three-way license, as you can see, and somebody talk to us, tell us what's going on, so that we know what to expect on this. We'd like to see some research.
We appreciate that. Time has expired, and we appreciate your input. Again, please state your name, address, and if you're in support or not.
Charles Moon, 703 East Wager Street. I'm not. The thing that disturbs me is liquor license. Go to South Marion, 30th Street on Washington, and all you have basically is taverns. You're going to have more money for police officers. You're going to have more police officers in order to look over these alcoholics. And all you're doing in this area is producing people drinking here and there. And I think it's a downright shame that you have to have alcohol to enjoy a meal. I've enjoyed meals for the last 56 years sober. And I'm opposed to liquor license and all this. And to me, all you said in this is we're going to have more liquor license. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Moon. welcome. If you could just say your name, address, and whether you support it or not.
Yeah, my name is Kyron Montero, 306 North Vickery Lane. I'm a local entrepreneur here in Marion, Indiana, and serve on the Recommission Development Board. And at the age of 33, almost 34, when I was growing up in the city, seeing GM Food, RCA, I hear about the stories and things like that. But I think that we need things like this to innovate the city forward, because at the age of 33, I can't say Marion is a place that I will continue on to raise my family at if it stays like this. And so I understand what the last gentleman said about irresponsibility, but self-accountability comes in on that. So I think what the mayor is doing, the growth council and everything else, I think that we need to have this for the innovation. And I think you'll find a lot of people in support of this. So.
Thank you. Welcome. If you could say your name, address, and whether you support it.
Karen Creech at 1409 Ironwood Drive here in Marion. And I'm not opposed to the riverfront development at all. However, I do have a few little questions that perhaps some of them have been answered, and I still have a few. Basically, the way I understand it, that we're going to try to appeal to a certain age demographics that we seem to have a shortage of. The mayor was kind enough to give me speak to me the other day, so I got some of this information from him. So I did a little research, and in Grant County, the age group he wanted to try to target to get here is between the ages of 21 and 44. And this is a 2022 thing, but we have about 22,824 citizens in that age group all over Grant County. That's not just exclusive to Marion. And I understand the need for it. I think it's good. I do have a couple questions. I know we're going to have to give this land away practically to the developer. I'd like to know what this land is appraised at as far as the value. You know, if we were going to sell it, what would we put a price tag on it? The other thing I'd like to know is, I know we're going to be giving tax abatements out. How long would those be for something like this? Would they be individual for like each restaurant, or the whole development be a tax abatement in total? That kind of thing, and how long this would last. Because the way I see it, we really don't make any revenue off of this until the back end. City gives all the stuff up front, you know, the land, tax abatements, that kind of things. We don't really see any return on the investment immediately. You may see increase of traffic, but you don't really get anything as far as your actual base revenue until the back end of the tax abatement's over or whatever. My other questions are we going to have creative control? If you're turning the whole thing over to one developer, will the city decide what the architecture is going to look like? Is it going to blend in with what we already got? Or is it going to be something that just stands out to make it more noticeable? That type of thing. And are we going to be able to use any of our local contractors, our local painters or plumbers or electricians, our construction workers, to be working on this, to give, even if it's a temporary thing as far as jobs, that they could add to their businesses and grow? Or is the developer going to bring in, like say they're out of Indianapolis, just to use an example. Usually developers have their own crews, their own places where they get their supplies, and there's no new growth as far as even a temporary jobs for anyone locally. So I was hoping local business might be able to get something up front. The restaurants might, if the people stay locally here, the contractor or whatever, if they're out of town, they may stay here. You got hotels and restaurants get business. But we have plumbers and
You have 15 seconds.
But anyhow, to get going, we just want to know, when would we see actual revenue? What would be the timeline where we'd actually say we're projected to get this much revenue, and when would we see that? So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Come on up, state your name, address, and which way you support.
Ryan Howell, my address is 2909 South Branson Street, and I always support competition in business, so I support this. But I got a concern, property values. I own a house in Marion, and my property values go up every year. What I'm concerned is if the property values go up double, I mean, is my property tax going to double? Because that affects the single parents and the community of Marion, and the landlords wanting to invest in their properties to fix up for their tenants. and whatnot. So if we can keep an eye on property taxes and help trim the fat. And yeah, another thing is that, you know, I don't know how much these licenses are, but I mean, my common sense is, why do these licenses, liquor licenses, have to be so expensive for or any kind of licenses or permits have to be so expensive for the businesses? Maybe we can transfer the wealth from the government back to the private sector, and maybe they can open up 2 businesses. And, you know, and maybe that'll increase revenue in the long run. And, but, you know, my main concern is just maybe we can find a way to trim the fat and help out the residents and Marion, lower the rents and help the landlords, and at the same time, help the businesses that want to open up a riverfront property or whatever, and maybe make the regulations and everything cheaper. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you.
Hi, Bill Creech, 1409 Ironwood. I still live there. I just had a quick couple of points I wanted to bring about. It seems like we're talking a lot about liquor license. Liquor license this for food, entertainment, all that. I think we need to have a more holistic view of what we're actually trying to do with this area. You know, what's the actual draw aside from just the food industry and that? What about like shops? What about, you know, like men's clothing store? We don't really have anything like that here worth anything. Ladies clothing, you know, can we not have some type of, in our surveys, have a model of what we would like to have, a targeted model? I know that's not, you know, you don't have committed people, but in this area, these are going to be the shops. This is going to be the dining area and the food area. And this one over here is set up as an open area. Maybe during event times, you have like food trucks and stuff like that, or even a circus. I don't know. I'm just saying, we keep talking about just the liquor license. To me, you want to sell the idea, sell the whole package of what you're looking at. Give a better view of what you're really trying to accomplish. And that's just, I think that would clear up a lot of what we're talking about here. And I think it would be absolutely great. A lot of people go out of town, they go to Noblesville, other areas, and they have a very diverse shopping area. And I think that's what we are really looking for, and to draw people and have different types of events. So again, I just think if we had somebody actually put it together and showed by area, I know you got a map there, but by area, we're going to designate this kind of the shop area, this is the entertainment area, and this may be an open area. And that's what I think that would give a better understanding to everybody what you're trying to accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Creech.
All right, I'm back. Javon Washington, 720 West Jeffers Avenue. My friend Jim, he took the words, right? I was thinking it. If you build it, they will come. Field of Dreams. Like I was literally thinking that because we haven't built it in a long time. We've had, and I've no slight to any prior council or prior mayor, but we've had 20 years of stagnation. That it was said. It's been a long time of stagnation. I'm 45. So I know 20 years ago. I know 25. I graduated in 1997. I know what Marion was. I know what Marion is. And I'd love to see what Marion can be. And I think if you do this, to Bill's point, if we show what the result can look like. And I would tell people, go to Kokomo, because they did it 25 years ago. Go to Kokomo and you'll see. Go to Warsaw. I've been through Warsaw just going up, and I was headed over to East Chicago, but I stopped in Warsaw because I'm like, man, this is nice. They did something. And if we don't do something, the end result is we have what we have, and we're not going anywhere. I work with kids, and I hear jobs. When I hear that we're going to do this, no, they're not going to serve liquor. They're going to serve food. They're going to cook food. They're going to have a job. We have programs in our high school that prepare them for this, and then they have to leave to go get it somewhere else. We need it here. So if you build it, they will come. The money will come. The people will move in. Marion is a wonderful city. Wonderful city. There are a lot of areas to move to. I know we have the whole trying to get more housing, but how do you get more housing unless you bring in more people? Bring in more people, they will say, you know what, I want to build right here. I want to be as close to downtown as I can. I can't get downtown because it's going to be a little pricey once we do this, if we do this. But just go this way just a little bit. Got houses, they're ready to go. Put a little money in them, you've got a house. I've been preaching this about to colleges. Send your kids to us. We can work with them. They can have a house they buy it for a little bit of money, put their money into it, and now they have a home permanently, and they can teach here, and they can be lawyers here. They can do all of these things, but if we don't have anything to attract them, this is the attraction. So I say, let's do it. I say, let's move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Welcome. If you could state your name, address, and whether you support it or not.
Linda Wilk, 1016 West 5th Street. I am in support of this. I think it's a quality of life issue. I think we're overstating the liquor licenses. You can easily go to many restaurants and not drink. I think that that's a starting point. It's something we truly need. I will say that if there's quality of life, you're going to run into social connectedness. You're going to decrease domestic violence and other crimes. That's been proven by the Center for Disease Control. So we need this. I have also been in Marion since 1989. I've seen us decline. I've been in Wabash. I saw it go up. I think we can do the same exact thing. And so we need this. So I appreciate the opportunity to say that.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilkes. Okay, if you could state your name, address, and whether you support it or not.
I'm Madeline Carver.
Linda, I put them right on the podium.
I'm sorry, one moment. Did they all get taken?
I don't know.
If someone has one in the audience, if they don't mind sharing with her. I only made 20. I wasn't sure. Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm Madeline Carver, 1506 South Washington Street. I currently have a business downtown, and I've been there for about 3 years. And downtown is a very beautiful place, and I think it's pretty much missing the potential that could be there by bringing in. We already have, I guess, some of our best restaurants are already downtown, and I think putting a lot of focus on that instead of, there's a lot of bars that are already here, and not to take the attention away from those or to take the crowd away from those, but kind of to give a safe place, which I feel like downtown would be that for younger kids or younger people to enjoy themselves rather than going out of town or having to go other places because we don't have that. So I think if we're able to provide that, it would push more attention to downtown, which there's so many small businesses there, and it would just give us more attention instead of, kind of pushing us out because we're not getting the crowd that we need. So I think Marion, especially downtown, has the potential. We just have to give it to that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Welcome. If you could state your name, address, and whether you support it or not.
Great. Darren Reese, 901 North Wabash Avenue here in Marion. I am in favor of this. I am also a member of the Redevelopment Commission and in favor of whatever we can do to help do that. But I want to take those hats off right now, and I want to remind everybody that I was a 12-year-old kid pulling weeds on 2nd Street for most of my life when my family had a business down there, and how much downtown means to me. And the ability for this to help out with what is going on. And there is an energy downtown. This is our opportunity to be able to add some fuel to this. And I also want to stand here as an investor of a building that looks empty on the square. And if after this it's worth twice as much as it is before this, then anybody could make a deal with me. I'd be very happy to move that on. But I'm actually much more excited to find an operator that is going to be excited about being downtown because of things like this, to be able to fill that space with life and with entertainment. And if we need to build out a kitchen, we might. That's just one of those things. So that's, one of us that are here putting our own money into this. Please help do this. And in one other moment, I have been able to stand in front of this body probably too many times over the course of my life. But there was a time when we were doing some economic development that had some nursing homes very nervous about a redevelopment that we did at 14th and just west of Nebraska, the Emily Flynn property. And there was concerns about, facilities closing. There's not enough opportunity. None of that came to pass. Now, my heart goes out to the people that have invested, and I'm with you as an investor in the community, but I'm also a fan of rising tides, raise all boats. So from that philosophy, I would encourage you guys to adopt this evening. So yeah, that's that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Welcome. If you state your name, address, and whether you support it.
Which I'll come before you a little bit later, but Michael Graff, live at 2402 West Cam Road. As the newly positioned advisory plan director, I've been working diligently with the mayor and I've talked with attorneys and other communities, other like-minded planning departments. So there were some questions about what's the bigger vision. There's a lot of bigger vision that's going on with this. This is a step, this is a piece that you have to have in place in order to get the bigger vision part. So obviously, as we go forward, many more things will be brought to you. A lot of questions will be answered going forward. We're also dealing with updating our comprehensive plan, and the comprehensive plan that we have in place right now has talked about the particular things that are going on in downtown, from started in 2010. So we're starting to see something, here we are 2023 or 2024, 14 years later, or 24 years later, finally seeing some of the proof in the pudding of the visions that people had back then. So it's something that's not a quick process that we would love to have it, but there is a means to the end to what we're looking at tonight. So I just hope you pass it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graff. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Robin Fowles, 3400 block of South Torrance Street, Marion. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss this magnanimous opportunity that we have before us for riverfront development. To the current bar owners and the associations, we love and support you and rally around you. We'll always do that. We're at a time in our community where we need to seize the opportunity for growth and economic development. The talk about the liquor license has diminished the capacity of this riverfront development and the idea of what it brings toward what it will provide for Marion for now and years to come. I want us to focus on that. This is to attract. This is to grow. This is to bring people here to Marion. I myself have traveled to several cities, Fort Wayne, South Bend, Warsaw, Wabash, Indianapolis, and so forth, and enjoy the pleasure of, that was 3 minutes.
I got
Have enjoyed the pleasure of what those riverfronts provide. I see the sky as the limit. I think the current businesses and bars that we have will grow, will attract more people. People have different tastes, and we want to provide entertainment for all those different tastes. I am so grateful for Mayor Morrell and his great administration. Thank you, including me, that we're able to come up with this ideal. This is a tool for us. I beckon that we stop rumors and those things that are not true and have good, fruitful conversations that participate in the growth of our community. I full-heartedly support this, and I'm so excited to see what this will do for our community, because I just know tonight that this great council will pass this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief of Staff House.
Michael Hotz, 1514 North Lakeshore Drive here in Marion, Indiana. I used to sit there in that seat a lot. I'm not going to jail today. You know, I'm also your corporate counsel for the city of Marion. I'm very proud to be that. Family man, have 3 kids here. Family lives here in Marion. Also own Grant County Abstract. My partner and I, Trent Daly, put a sizable investment in that a couple years ago. Took over from Harry Finch, who had run that company for years. His father had started that. What I can say is I remember sitting in the firm over at Spitzer Hammer Stevenson probably about 11 years ago when I first came to this community, and I heard a lot of guys in the firm kind of bemoan the fact that we don't have this and we don't have that, and we don't have the men's and I think it's like about the men's and women's clothing, so we don't have that, right? And it's almost like this, you know, thought of desperation, right? Of like, what are we going to do? How do we change it? Now, I would challenge you guys to look. Sometimes when you have a goal and you're aiming for it, goals are great, ideals are great. They directionally focus you where you're going. But sometimes we get so focused on it's like mirage, right? You take a step towards it, and you're like, man, we should be here, we should be that. I would challenge us all today to sit back and think about where we were 10 years ago, because I remember that conversation distinctively. I remember when I first met Mike Halstead. I think I know a lot of you guys probably know him, Halstead Architects. I mean, he put a personal guarantee out for about $7 million on Ridley Tower down there. And I remember the conversation with people saying, that's a ridiculous idea. That will never work. Who's going to, I mean, he went to all types of banks to do this. He met with anybody he could. Now, if you look at that, he's got market rate apartments there. He's got high density. If you go on the north side of the square, you've seen the Cruz Group and those guys put that together. Obie's Barbecue that's part of it too. I mean, so if you look in 10 years, if you look back sometimes, you can connect the dots and you can see how much progress you've actually made. And so I think that's one of these situations here is like the people are now here, right? They're actually here. It's incredible. People put the investments in. I think you got a lot of restaurateurs saying, hey, if they had liquor license too, it could help them become even more profitable. And so you have that. The final thing I'd say too is this is not a zero-sum game. Zero-sum games are people that chase money. If you ever see people that chase money, they never go after wealth. When you go after wealth, you grow, you create, you invest in people. And so when I think of this, this could be an attraction for people to come outside this community. I mean, Marion is the star of the county. People travel here. They might not always like Marion, they complain about it, but they come here and they use our resources and they shop here. And so I think the people will come. It's a field of dreams. You know, I love it. I think it's what you have to do because you got to look back to connect the dots, go forward. It's a positive sum game. You will see people come out. People will spend money on entertainment. There's not a fixed amount of entertainment dollars. There's a lot of entertainment dollars out there. Let's watch television. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Welcome. If you say your name, address, and whether you support it or not.
Dana Galt, 1015 West 11th Street, and I do support it. And to piggyback on Michael, it is a great place to live. I've lived here all my life, and to see life come back into the city would be wonderful. People do that don't live here come back and do things, and I hear them Facebook saying, what's going on in Marion? And so they do come back for when we had concerts in the park, they came back for the solar eclipse. So when we do have things, people do come back. It is time for Marion to grow. We have been small-minded for a long time. So it's time for us to grow, welcome people back, welcome new people here, welcome older people back. I know I have a couple of friends that are moving back into the city, into Marion, because they don't want the big city. They don't want to travel far for activities. We're used to traveling out of town to go places, but here lately we have been going downtown and eating and hanging out at different places here in Marion. And so if you haven't had an opportunity to, we ride bikes, to go around and look at things, it's a beautiful place. And I'm glad to be here. I feel safe, and I know that the downtown will bring great joy for us from now on till forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Galt. Welcome back.
Hello, I'm back. Curtis Gar, 1602 Fox Trail. I come from I got a little different perspective on it. Most don't know that I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. And I've moved here in 1995. And I've seen the decline of Marion, and it all looks too familiar to me. You've all heard the horror stories of Detroit. They're true. I've lived it, and I don't necessarily want to live it again. I've been waiting, sometimes impatiently, for a administration to do something about it. And I'm happy that this administration is trying to do something about it. I moved away from Detroit for a reason. One was family, one was just to get out of that environment. Marion's been good to me, he's been great to my family. I just don't want to see it decline anymore. I want to see it grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Gar. Welcome. If you could state your name, address, and whether you support it or not.
My name's James Lewis. I live at 1617 West Euclid Avenue here in Marion, of course. Both. I think we are looking at a lot of things the wrong way. I can't support it as it stands because I don't think Marion needs more liquor licenses. Why? Because how long has it been since Marion has gotten more liquor licenses? The last time that this city got more liquor licenses in the city, our city had more people. I can about guarantee you that. I'd have to look up data there, but we all know Marion has decreased in our population over the last 30 years. We're focused, this all seems to be focused around adult entertainment. Yes, we need more entertainment. Heck yes, build the downtown. Let's bring more entertainment. But why are we focusing on us adults? Yes, us adults invest. But me, I want a place for my kids. I want a place that my kids can grow up and feel proud to be from. I look at entertainment. My entertainment going with my kids. We have wonderful parks here in town. We have a great library. There's lots of great things. We have a skate park that, well, any skater isn't going to skate at, but that's beside the point. We do have certain things for kids, but that is where we should be focusing at. You want to bring people to this city, make it a place where they can raise their family. If we do some of this, we add more liquor into the community. I've heard, and they may just be rumors, but a whole idea about allowing open carry from a certain time to a certain time during the day downtown. No, I'm not going to bring my kids to that. My kids do not see me drink. I'm not allowing them to watch other kids drink. I know there are many other parents who feel the same way I do. I'm not speaking as anything but a parent, and this just ain't the way to go.
Thank you for your input. Microphone's still open. Anyone else? Welcome. If you could state your name, address, and whether you support it or not.
Yes. I'm in favor of any growth that we can get in the city of Marion. However, we need a good master plan to start something new. And we need to use some of the city vacant lots that we have around the downtown area to build some parking garages. Parking is hard to find downtown, especially from 4th Street to 3rd Street or 5th Street. You've got some people that are making investments in Marion, but there's not adequate parking. Now, on the new liquor license, I'm thinking, if I hear right, that you got some strings attached to those. If I understood you right, you want to limit the cost on those. Well, if you make an investment in something and it has to be tied up in that particular property for a long period of time and the tavern is not a success there, what do you do with your liquor license if they can't be transferred? And I'd like to know why there's not someone here from the Alcoholic Beverage Board to help assist the council in making some good decisions. Taverns go out of business, but what ones we have are successful, and it's all in management, and it's what you want to make it. But times are tough right now for everybody, and I'm glad we're getting the new housing that we're getting. But number two thing I want to talk about is all the blight that those new places are going to create. Now, we've been through this before, and we can't keep up with the blight. And when we passed a ordinance for tax abatement for residential, that's when Marion made a big mistake, because housing costs went down, the value went down, and the city started declining. So we got to waste, or not waste our money, but invest it proper and get the most we can for the dollar. And that's all I have to say. I want to see this map. From what I understand, a lot of this is in the floodplain. And we had one of the biggest rains we've had in years, and the river didn't flood and get downtown or down on 14th and Nebraska Street where the floodplain's at. But I just like for you to spend a little bit more time. And another thing, learn something about the existing ordinance you have. We've got good ordinances, but nobody knows what they are. And if you can sit down and take the time to learn the city ordinances that we have and make some adjustments in those for the betterment of the city of Marion, that's a good thing.
Thank you for your time. Your time has expired, sir.
Pardon
Thank you.
me?
Your time has expired. 3 minutes is up. So thank you for your input.
That's another ordinance I'm opposed to.
Thank you for your
part
input.
of. Okay?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You got 3 minutes at the next ball game.
All right, your time is expired.
I'm not against it.
Yeah. But we appreciate your input. Welcome. If you state your name, address, and whether you support it or not.
Tony Andy, 1617 South Nebraska Street. Actually, I'm interested in the niche that Mr. Thompson just brought up. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. The blight. Living on South Nebraska Street and looking out my back window, I've seen it. I've seen Gallatin going south. It's improving some. I don't want to say, oh, it's really bad, but there was a point where roofs were not maintained. They were falling in. Wood was rotting.
So this is a public hearing for the riverfront development. So
Well,
if you'd
you
like to
better-
talk about blight, we can talk about another time, but we would like public input on the riverfront development.
Okay, fair enough. Have a good day.
So thank you. Anybody else? I'm not sure we have anyone left, but we appreciate all the input. Okay, and seeing no one else make their way. Yeah, can I close the public hearing now?
Sure.
Okay. So seeing nobody else come to the mic, we're going to close the public hearing. Councilman Fordyce.
I think we're probably going to be ready.
I think we're probably going to be ready to take a vote. I just had one question, Councilor Parker. Do we need to amend this last signature page?
Yes.
So when we pass this, we need to do it amended on the signature page for the mayor.
Yeah, he can cross it out. He can cross it out.
So as long as the clerk knows. On the signature page, it says a resolution instead of an ordinance for the mayor to sign. This is an ordinance, not a resolution.
Thank you so much, Councilman Fordyce. Was there anything else?
No.
Thank you for catching that. I read that thing 3 different times and glad you caught it. All right. Go ahead. Vice Councilman Klein.
No, we were crossed off, I'm sorry.
Okay. Vice President Calgo.
I really appreciate everybody's input. This is nice. I think this is the most input we've ever had at a council meeting. And it's nice to see the citizens inputting. And I've looked over this, researched this. I've talked with Alan. I mean, the last few days here, I've done a lot with this. I think that a lot of the talk has been on the 4 licenses too. Or if it is 4, I don't know it. And I don't know what the cost of license is. The state sets that. Am I right by that? I don't know where the price comes from. Anyway, I think a riverfront district, as far as when I think, you know, is this good? What research has been done, everything? Well, you look at Wabash. Anybody go to Wabash at night, especially on a Friday or Saturday? Everybody walks there. You go all over that place. It's bigger than it has been. And then I think about Carmel, where 20 years ago, that was considered one of the fastest growing little towns there is. And now 20 years later, it's rated as the #1 place to live in the United States, just a few miles down the road. So I think that this is a great thing. I think it can open up all, you know, and I like that we've not only heard from taverns, we've heard from restaurants. And I think this is the kind of things that will bring clothing stores, destinations for kid type friendly things that will do that. I personally think it's just going to do nothing but help existing because, you know, I'm just going to use my own analogy. If I want to sit down at a great place and have fun and I'm going to want to have the best sub in town, I'm going to the Green Olive. You know, if I want to have fish, you know, we all know where you're going to go eat fish at. And it's just, so I think all these, or Obie's for barbecue, whatever, all these places have their own niche that I think it's just going to increase business. And I think that we have got to be able to grow as a city because like so many of you said tonight, if we don't, our city's not going to be here at one point in time. I don't know how many years that would be, but that's what's going to end up happening. So listening to everybody tonight, man, it's just, my mind's just been racing the last hour here. And I appreciate everybody's input on this tonight.
Thank you, Vice President Calgill. Any other council members like to speak at this time? I'll go last. So I'm not from Marion. I'm actually originally from Warsaw. Actually went to high school with Mr. Tolmer's children. And I grew up and watched the evolution of Warsaw. And when I'm old enough to remember, there was a department store downtown that sold clothes. And I remember going downtown. And then downtowns went to nothing. And I remember the downtown of Warsaw, we didn't go anywhere. You didn't go there. Everything was developing north on 15 or out east on 30, on Highway 30, and all the development was going away from downtown. And I remember I didn't go downtown unless I needed to go to the courthouse. Yeah, and that was about it. And when they implemented this in Warsaw, it has transformed that downtown. And so I still have family up there and friends. I actually had a rental property up there until a couple of years ago. I still travel up there all the time. And surprisingly, all the good bars and businesses are still in business up there because they just had a niche. Rex's Rendezvous was still there. They didn't lose any business. In fact, I think it's helped their business. It's been there forever. And I can speak to the bars and restaurants in Marion that have been around for a long time. We appreciate all you've done. But I'm not from here, but I know enough to know that you have survived the economic downturn of Marion. Congratulations. Like, I mean that sincerely. But imagine how you're going to thrive for the economic upturn in Marion. You've made it through some rough times in our community. The tide's turning. We're going to turn this community around. We're going to bring investment. You know, more people that come to Marion can learn about, you know, whether they need to go to Don's Tap or the Green Olive or wherever, your reputation is solid. So again, I do think this has been focused a little on liquor licenses. I know that's the topic of contention. I can say, growing up in Warsaw and watching the evolution, this has done nothing but help. And I did live in South Bend for 7 years between here, living here in Warsaw, and in South Bend. I remember when they incorporated this as well. I was a police officer there about 7 years, so I knew every street, I knew everything about that city. And the area of which they adopted this riverfront development, it was nothing. And it wasn't a floodplain. It was a sandy old park. It was disgusting. And that's why they carved out that area to try and develop it. And now when you go to that area, I mean, they have festivals, they have new restaurants, they have new housing, they have new restaurants that have housing on top of it. It has exploded in that area. And surprisingly, because I was a police officer, I know every single bar in that town. And, you know, with Notre Dame being up there, there's a lot of popular bars. Not a single one of those bars is closed. In fact, I think they're thriving better than they ever have. All while they added those liquor licenses down on the riverfront. And I do remember some contention when they adopted that, same stuff I've heard today. But I think what we have as an advantage in Marion right now is that, which is really sad, is we're like one of the last ones to do this. So we have the ability to see how it's worked everywhere else. This isn't a new concept that we're going to be the proof. This has worked in every community that's adopted it. The mayor has sent us letters from the mayor of Noblesville, Muncie, Auburn, Fishers, Vincennes, Kokomo, State Representative Goss, State Senator Zay, all within the last couple of days. And every single one of those mayors and those communities has overwhelmingly said this has been a huge impact on their community without any detriment to the other businesses. So I share that information. I come from 2 other communities that have adopted this, and it's done nothing but help develop a downtown or riverfront area. Unfortunately, we have a river right downtown, and so this works out really great to adopt this. And I will tell you, you know, being here, and there's nothing to do here. Nothing to do. It's boring downtown. What am I going to do? This isn't just bars and restaurants. This spurs economic development. We're a capitalist society, right? I can't tell you who's going to come to downtown Marion, but I can guarantee you there'll be more eyes and more investment that want to come to downtown simply because we might have this in place. Investors look at communities that are forward thinking and they adopt these types of resolutions or ordinances. And if we don't pass this and it doesn't go anywhere, we are flushing investment and we're setting a precedent for investors to say, nah, never mind. We're not that interested. So I share that because I'm in 100% support of this. And that's all I have to say. Anybody else?
Just wanted paper.
Thank you. If nobody has anything else, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I would move that we suspend the rules and also make a correction at the same time on the signature page where the mayor signs, changing the wording, this resolution to say this ordinance.
Second.
Is that correct, Gary?
That is correct. I have a motion on the floor to suspend the rules and make an amendment to change the wording from Councilman Kane and a second by Councilman Brunner. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine. Yes. Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Rules have been suspended. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we pass General Ordinance number 6, 2024 with the correction.
Second.
A motion on the floor by Councilman Kane, a second by Councilman Brunner. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Divine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. General Ordinance 6-2024 has passed. Moving on to General Ordinance 7-2024, reading and public hearing.
An ordinance of the city of Marion, Indiana, establishing a certain designated outdoor refreshment area. Speaking, Mayor Ronald Morrell Jr.
This one is a cherry on top of the Riverfront District. So this was first into consideration by the state when Indianapolis had the Super Bowl in a year, I think, I can't remember, 2011 or 12. And they were allowed to walk between downtown Indianapolis from establishment to establishment and soliciting with a clear cup and be able to travel between different places. So eventually went into law, and there's different cities who have established this. And the one that's, I guess I'm considering our sister city that's the closest to us is Como. And they established this and it's been very successful. This is specifically so you can maneuver between different restaurants or establishments in this specific door district. And I hate to use this slang, but it's kind of hot between places, and be able to solicit them all at the and move back and forth. This creates also the ability for mobile vendors to be able to set up in this district to sell alcohol as well. The hope for this is to create. I don't want it to be misconstrued as like, for example, Noblesville's getting ready to pass this as well. I don't want this to be misconstrued as like a drunkard's row or anything like that. But this isn't just a controlled time to increase the density between different establishments. And one thing I know from the ordinance that is written is there are two establishments listed in, I believe, section 6, and the reason for them being listed is that the only two currently open in that in this available area. And another thing to add about doors are not specifically attached to rivers, and they can be set up in anywhere across the city.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move. City council members have questions. Councilman Fordyce.
Mayor, I had a question on, I know that we had originally spoke that there were going to be 4, but you said now it's up to the council on how many, or the state. I was just concerned because I know that we've got Los Mores is interested, Obies is interested, and then if there's only 4, that leaves us 2. I'm just curious.
So that's so on the riverfront. That's on that other ordinance that we just passed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the riverfront, it's up to the discretion. So anybody who fills out the application will then have to come before the city council, and we can approve or deny their existence in that district.
So the 3 ways are unlimited down in the riverfront district?
Or limited based on what we decide, what we vote on.
On the amount of liquor licenses?
Yes, what we vote. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the mayor?
The only other question I have, I'm sorry, I
okay.
apologize. This is for Councilor Parker. The same thing on this signature page. It says resolution instead of ordinance. So if we could change that, so it needs to be fixed as well. An ordinance on the signature page. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other questions, Councilwoman Devine? Oh.
You sure? Okay, so what Councilman Fordyce said, I just wanted a little bit of clarity on that. Within the Dora area, there's also temporary vendors, so other establishments that currently have a liquor license or have a license to do food, because they may not have a liquor license, they would be allowed to set up in these areas under their current establishment, or they would have to come and get a temporary permit. So like if we have a big festival in the area and people want to set up not just a food truck, but they want to represent their business there,
are they under their current licensing and food establishment, or do they have to have a whole new temporary setup?
The latter would be correct. They have to come and get a permit to function within this district.
And who would be responsible for giving those? Us as council, or is that something that also falls under like the health board?
That is, I'm not 100% sure on that. I believe that the AT, our local ATC, will be able to give those temporary permits.
Just clarity too on those temporary vendors under section 7. The language rate, it reads temporary beer or wine permit. So it's not liquor. It's not a three-way. It's somebody wants to sell beer with their tacos on their food truck. They do have to get a permit on that. So it's not like they can just show up and start selling it. There is a vetting process that they do have to go through to obtain a temporary beer or wine permit.
Another clarification then, if that's true, in 8, it talks about the amount of whether it be beer, wine or cider, or a mixed drink. So those are 2 totally separate issues. So if somebody already has the 3-way license, that's the amount they can give versus a temporary one, which can only give the other 2.
Correct. So somebody with a 3-way license, A, B, and C apply. Beer, wine, and mixed drinks apply to them, but the temporary vendors, only A and B would apply because they're not allowed to sell the liquor. But it does limit the amount. You know, they only can walk out with 2 drinks, or some of us call it double fisting. 2 drinks. So you see people walking out with 2 drinks, right? You can't take more than that. You can't go out and start supplying everybody. And it does limit the number of ounces per drink as well.
I want to add one more thing. The establishments in this district can refuse participation. So this is all the establishment of this district allows for them to participate. Everybody in this district can say no, we don't want to do this, and then we just passed it, and it just kind of exists. But they have to be willing to want to participate.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll add some clarity too that other restaurants or businesses in the Dora has the right to refuse people coming in that are carrying a beer from another restaurant, right? So if you own another restaurant and you don't want someone bringing beer from another restaurant that's part of the Dora, you can refuse that or put a sign up door not allowed or whatever. So there's a lot of things in this that'll give the property owners or business owners the right to participate or not. And essentially the water down out of all this is it, basically your example is, say we revitalize the downtown and we have an amazing First Friday again, right? And everyone's down there and you go into one restaurant that's participating in Dora and you got a beer. Instead of saying, well, hold on, let's go to the next one, let me finish this. If they're participating, you can walk out with that beer and go to the next restaurant or go down and see the concert. So this was created, I believe, when the Colts had the Super Bowl. And prior to having this, there was an open container law. So this kind of allows you to loosen that restriction of open containers, because if not, they didn't do this during the Super Bowl. Well, the police essentially could have arrested everybody that walked out and celebrated in the middle of the street. So this is a much tighter area than the riverfront. Just to let the public know, it's essentially right off the river. I believe it's, the road names are covered up. Nebraska, so starting at the river, almost where the Girl Scout cabin is, you go south on Nebraska, east on 3rd Street, and then it comes up, I believe that, is that McClure? No, just east of McClure, and then it just goes up around the riverfront. So this is really right on the riverfront. It's not even downtown on the square. It's just north of the downtown square. So there won't be anyone carrying alcoholic beverages across the highway, essentially. So just wanted clarity for the public. Any other questions, comments? Councilman Kane?
Just also some clarity also on that. You're allowed to leave the premises with a drink. It's in a plastic cup. You're not carrying a beer bottle or a glass that's going to get thrown down or dropped and broken on the sidewalk or the street. It's in a plastic cup. So there's some clarity also there also.
Go ahead.
I'm glad you clarified that about the two establishments being listed. Make sure that they're only listed because they're in that district at this time. That has nothing to do with licensing or nothing like that. And then the other thing, Councilman Fordyce brought up a question that I'm not, I guess maybe I'm not clear on now. On the liquor license that we've, on the last one, ultimately the state gives those out, correct?
Yeah, the state can say no to all of this.
That's what I'm saying. So they're the ones who decide that.
Yeah, they're the ultimate authority on these. We just make recommendations for all of this. They can always say no.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up because essentially we're the first layer. ATC always has final approval because, you know, there might be a business that has a bad track record somewhere and we don't know about it. And they go, actually, never mind. So, but we're the first layer of approval. We get to say yes or no, and then it goes off to ATC. Any other questions? Seeing no other questions, I'd entertain a motion. And I almost made it. Listen, it's late. All right, we'll move this to the public hearing. If you'd like to speak, welcome to come up to the microphone about this specific ordinance. Welcome back. Again, state your name, address, and whether you support it or not.
Linda Wilk, 1016 West 5th Street. I was here last meeting where it was first discussed. I appreciate the police chief saying he was in support of this because it was a very strict, it wasn't 11 a.m., it was a realistic time frame. I think, again, we need this. It's going to improve the downtown. You don't have to go out and get drunk. It's just another opportunity to increase entertainment, and I am in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilkes. Welcome back again. Just state your name, address, and whether you support it.
My name is Karen Creech, 1409 Ironwood Drive, and this is a disaster waiting to happen. I do not support this. I don't believe we should have open containers. I don't think we need people loitering around from 11 o'clock to 11 p.m. sitting around carrying liquor from here to here. How are you going to police that? How are you going to know there's only 2 ounces of alcohol in there? How do you know they're not going to go drink it, go back, get 2 more? How do you know they're not going to give it to somebody else sitting there and then go get 2 more? You can't control this. And I don't care how controlled your little area is and all your little signs. Signs don't work. They don't mean anything. We wouldn't have speeders if signs worked. So my point is, you're asking for trash. You're asking for eventually you're going to get a bad element come. You're going to have all the people that are obeying the rules, enjoying themselves, and then the area is going to get taken over by those who's going to push the limit, going to push the rules, and then it's going to ruin it for everybody else. And all the people that were enjoying it will say, I can't go down there because everybody's always down there and they're getting over intoxicated. But you're not going to be able to control this until somebody gets out of line. Why open up this can of worms? You got enough liquor floating all over. You could swim in it. We're going to have liquor in every restaurant. We're going to have liquor sold by vendors at the festivals. We're going to be able to get alcohol everywhere. As far as having a socialized area, you can make a socialized area. You don't have to make it where they have alcohol in it. You can have adjacent to where you're going to have the music festivals, or you can have adjacent to where these apartments are going to be, where people can gather. They can listen to the music and sit there. Won't be able to prevent people from bringing in their own liquor. I mean, we carry a flask. You got talking about a plastic cup. You could keep that plastic cup and fill it up at home. Go out there like there and act like you're walking out. But there's all these ways you can avoid and get by with all these little rules. There's no way you're going to be able to control it once it gets out of hand. And then you're going to want to expand it because this side's going to say we want it because we're not getting the foot traffic because they're all over there. It's just going to be a big mess. Maybe Indianapolis could do it, but that was the Super Bowl. We're not going to have a Super Bowl here. Not unless Miss Sinwell finally wins a game. We're not going to have a Super Bowl. We just need to have some decent entertainment and bring a family down. And I don't want to come down here from 11 to 11. You don't need that many hours. Why do you need that many hours? If you really want to have a designated area, then have it on Friday and Saturday only. Have it between like 8 and midnight or something.
10 seconds.
well, that's fine. But don't do this. You're just asking for trash, you're gonna ask for trouble, and later on, it's gonna be a mess. I start out good, it's gonna end poorly.
Thank you. Your time has expired. I appreciate your input. Anybody else? Welcome. If you could state your name, address, and whether you support it or not.
My name's David Slusher. I live at 810 West Chapel Pike, and I do support this. I do believe, as Jim was saying, if it's something that we can do, it's going to bring people here. A lot of you know me. I've had businesses here. I've seen it do thrive here, and it's went down. I don't know if many of you know the go-kart track down here. I used to manage it. They used to have CSA night. Anybody ever go down there that night? There was a couple of people that chill up with that. You know what I'm saying? So I just think this is a big thing. I really do. And I see the vision of what this is going to be. And I just want to say, I agree with it.
Thank you, Mr. Slusher. Welcome back. Name, address, and whether you support it.
Michael Graft, 2402 West Kim Road.
Microphone.
And I do support it. There are some things that some of you may not know that this has kind of already happened within the city of Marion. Hog Days. The Green Olive just put on a festival right down in the middle of a neighborhood. Probably had 2,000 people in that area. I had that. The business thrived, the people enjoyed it, had a nice concert. So I think that we sometimes take for granted that people can be responsible, should be responsible. I don't think that denying something like this is favorable to what we're looking at down in that area. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graft. Anybody else? Seeing no one else make their way to the podium, we're going to close the public hearing. Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to pass General Ordinance 7-2024, suspend the rules with the corrections on the signature page.
Okay, so I've got a motion to suspend the rules with the change in the wording by Councilman Fordyce, second by Councilman Klein. Any discussion on the suspension? No questions? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Divine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Rules have been suspended. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to pass General Ordinance 7-2024 with the corrections on the signature page.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Fordyce with those corrections or correction, and a second by Councilman Marshall. Any discussion? I will make one comment about this. The beauty as being the legislative body of Marion is if this turned into a disaster, we have the authority to take it away. So in other communities that have adopted this has been very successful and has helped the businesses in that community thrive and bring concerts and bring families. And I will add, just as a general comment, that not everyone that drinks is an alcoholic. Any other questions or comment during discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Divine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Yes.
McKinley.
Yes. General Ordinance 7-2024 is passed. And we're going to move into new business at this point. General Ordinance 8-2024, first reading.
An ordinance amending original ordinance 1982, Schedule 4, time limit parking zones. Speaking, Head of Engineering and Planning, Mike Pratt.
Good evening. I'm not going to give you my address again. So what you have before you this evening is some areas downtown that are timed zones. Some that are already posted, some that were posted well over a year ago, and then one area that needs to be newly posted. It's a continuation of the 2-hour zone from 4th to 5th. The west side of the street has signage already. That side of the street does not. I have it on good authority that we have some new parking people going around town. Is that correct?
Yes. We're working on a more permanent solution.
But so for a while we didn't have that the capability to enforce the rules and regulations that were set forth way back in 1982. So what we're looking for, and I can answer any of the questions of any of the 5 that you see there. So, but right now there are areas that are posted. They got posted a year ago that were meant more just to see if that area, when Ridley Tower went in, to see how folks would react and if the enforcement was going to be necessary. And unfortunately, it's become a necessary evil, the downtown area. People decide that they want to park and camp, and we need to give areas for the restaurants to be able to have people park, to be able to go to their restaurants, businesses to be able to interact rather than having individuals that decide to stay in particular areas for longer than 2 hours. Entertain any questions that you have.
Is this time limits 24/7 or is it during specific business hours?
Most of it is for business hours. There are a couple that are because they've been asked by the Ridley Tower if it can be enforced. So even if I told you that it's a timed, there isn't anybody enforcing after 4 in the evening regularly. Now, a police officer can enforce at any given time, but it's very difficult after hours to get that enforcement. So.
Any other questions for Mr. Graff?
Mike, the residents of the Ridley Towers, they have their own parking in back, correct? It's numbered. That's not a open parking back here.
As far as I know, yes, that they have. It's kind of shared with OBs and those areas back in there. So I don't know individually who owns what portions of the lot, and the management of Ridley Tower. We've had conversations with them to try to motivate their people not to stay out on the street, but unfortunately that's not worked. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Graff.
You're welcome. Thank you. See you in a couple weeks.
And then there's a format issue. It's got the mayor's name instead of us as council at the bottom.
I'm sorry.
Now you have me looking.
That's what we got a lawyer for.
All right. I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion pass General Ordinance 8-2024 to second reading and public hearing.
Second. I have a motion by Councilman Fordyce, second by Councilman Kane. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. General Ordinance 8-2024 is passed, and we'll move to second reading public hearing at our next meeting. Moving on to Appropriation Ordinance 10-2024 first reading.
An ordinance appropriating certain funds for the city of Marion, Indiana, and providing for the effective date thereof. From the general fund, the amount of $18,946.39 for fire and safety updates to City Hall. Speaking, Mayor Ronald Morrell Jr.
I'll just talk briefly on this, and then I'll let our head of building and grounds fill in on what this is. But long story short, we are failing our inspections, and we need to update to get our building up to the code.
Welcome, Mr. Slusher.
So council, again, this is for our fire panel. Just something that needed to be done. I don't know, anybody getting these pictures around? I took a picture of our panel. It was actually made in 76 and installed in 79. We can't even get parts for it anymore. So what has happened every time we come in to do our fire inspection, we have not been able to fix it. We're down to where we're ready to fail. And you know, as firemen, if we fail our fire inspection, our building is closed. Just that simple. So I'm asking for the 18,000 here to get this fixed and up to date. And hopefully this will last another 40 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Could
Councilman
you
Marshall.
explain a little bit more about what exactly it is? I don't quite understand. You said panel, right?
Yeah, it's a fire panel. It controls like your smoke detectors. Oh, oops, sorry, thought I had it on. Your smoke detectors, your horns, and the lights. You know what? You ever have a fire inspection? You know, you're in the building and the horns are off real loud and the lights are flashing. It's what controls it. We've got like smoke detectors on our ducts, like if it's, you know, our air is on, which.
So I guess the good side is that we don't have to replace the whole system. We're just replacing the panel, the brain of it.
Correct.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on one second here, though. This estimate though shows 62 smoke detectors, though, right? We're replacing, when we talked, we were talking about the smoke detectors. This includes that too, right?
Yep. This is just the fire panel. We're just doing the panel. Smoke detectors are still passing. We had only one that fell and it was replaced. If you look at the one for 38.
So what I'm looking at here is 62 smoke detectors. I mean, if we get all this included, new one, that's great. But I mean, this looks like the whole unit.
I didn't have
The control panel, smoke detectors.
Because, well, I mean, I have a little experience with these systems, and if you get a new control panel, sometimes they're not compatible with the old smoke detector. So if you could just clarify what all we getting out of this.
Yeah, I'll look that up and get that. It probably is, you know, I've been doing a lot around the building. And I know the biggest part was the fire panel.
Okay.
You know, so.
Well, I get it, but I mean, so
Yeah.
the amount matches what's on this estimate, and that includes all the smoke detectors.
So that's it.
So you're talking about the estimate for Bellwood Fire?
Yes.
That is detailed out
Yeah.
on all the smoke detectors, flashing lights, and control panel.
Levers, you know, because we're all,
Yeah.
That's
Not just the control panel.
Just not the control panel, correct. Yep, this is it right here,
Yeah, I will add that, so my previous life as an IT manager, I was also in charge of all of this stuff. This seems like really good price for all of this. But yeah, it looks like because we talked when I was in here the other day, and some of those smoke detectors are broken. You can see there's chips coming off of it, and they're so old. I think they've been here since they allowed smoking in the building because they look smoke like smoky from people smoking cigarettes. So they're that old. So, any other questions? I will just hopefully you can answer this, but this estimate is parts and labor, and that labor includes them doing all of the work, right? Or are you going to assume some of that work?
No, they'll do all the work.
Okay. Just want to be sure.
I have one more question. They have a license to do, because a lot of, fire companies don't have a license to do the control panels and install those systems.
That is correct.
Yeah, so they are licensed to do this, because I know there's several other ones around that don't have a license to do
Right.
this.
And there's only very few in Indiana, and the only
It's a
other
state
coast one
license,
is
correct? Yeah.
is in Fort Wayne, and they
Right.
do have a license, yeah.
But Elwood Fire has the license.
They do.
Thank you. And this is coming out of the general fund, this appropriation, correct, Mayor? Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, appreciate it. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we pass appropriation ordinance number 10, 2024 to second reading and public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Kane, second by Vice President Calgill. Any other discussion?
Aye.
Fordice,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Divine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Appropriation ordinance 10-2024, first reading has been passed, and we'll move it to second reading at the next meeting. Moving on to appropriation ordinance 11-2024, first reading.
An ordinance appropriating certain funds for the city of Marion, Indiana, and providing for the effective date thereof. From the general fund, the amount of $28,865 for City Hall air conditioning. Speaking, Mayor Ronald Morrell Jr.
How timely. It's hot. I'm hot. Everyone's fanning themselves. The windows are open. The doors are open. This is not a condition I want to work in. Not a condition I want our employees to work in. Nor do I want us to have council meetings in this condition. And we need to get this fixed. I know we've been investing. I feel like since I've been coming to council meeting, this has come up every single year for like the last 2 years in a row. So I don't know what it is, but we got to get this fixed, man. So I'll have our building grounds come back and explain what this is.
So this is a coil that we have that's out front out here. It's like a radiator. We heat and cool the building with water. It's like your car. This is a radiator. It's out front. We've got a hole in it. And we noticed it because we're trying to get our controls. We need to control the heating and air. Well, to get that, we have to have our air fixed. Last year, we got new motors and everything running fine. We can get air. Now, mechanical things come up, and this is what happened now. Now we got a hole in the radiator. So I have to have this fixed to even have the air even come on, to even get air into the building. So this is a prior. And once we get this, then we can take another step to where we can kind of control it to work on the next step. But right now, I just need the air to come on so we can work on that next step to get controls in the building.
Sure, about how we got either full blast air, full blast heat.
Yep, we either got to go full blast with the air or it's just off. Once we get it on, because we can't control it, that was the next step. I got to go out and literally turn the air conditioner on, and it just gets, next thing you know, people, man, it's freezing in here. So I go out, turn it off, turn on. That's, you don't run a building that way. So, but right now I have to have
the thermostat.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
I do have a question. Did you intentionally leave it off so we swayed?
I've had a lot of people say that.
And it's at the very end.
Right.
Would it just be cheaper to get a bunch of extension cords and fans?
Bunch of air window units, yeah.
Is the system as old as the building then?
No, well, the controls are. We've actually got new chillers probably about 15 years ago, new boilers. Those, they just really never had.
I guess where I was going in my mind for efficiency and keeping up.
Yeah.
Are we throwing good money after bad here with keeping?
No, it's actually a good unit out there. We got new motors, fans out there. It's a good unit. It just really never had no one just give it tender love and care for it. And now I'm here, and that's what we need. And then to get that going, we can get our airs going. We run on an old pneumatic system. I don't know if you know, it runs by air. You open your vents and close your vents with air. That's where we're at. And it just needs some TLC to it, you know, but we have to have this first before we can work on our controls.
Councilman Fordyce?
David,
Yeah.
last year, it was maybe a little later than this, when the chief of staff was sitting here sweating, just places that you wouldn't believe, but anyhow. And we appropriated $15,264 for motors.
Mhm.
And at that time, you said that that would bring it up to snuff.
Yep, and I did.
And get it running. I understand now you've got a hole in the coil. So is this 28,000 just replacing the coil on the
Correct,
condensing
yes.
unit? It's a V coil, correct?
It is
On
the
that?
coil. Yeah, we have like 2 systems on one. Okay, so it's actually system 1 with the 4 motors and the coils. And it's got a hole in it.
So you're
We can
replacing
run
the
on
whole
the
coil,
other.
you're replacing all the coils on both sides.
2 of the 4.
For 28,000.
28,000,
2
yes.
coils is all you're replacing.
Yep, that's it.
Hmm.
And there's some other repairs, little things on there to get it up to date, but I've had some other quotes. Johnson Control's not going to do it for no less than 50. I just had Havel out here just this last week, no less than 50
For 2 coils?
for 2 coils and the labor.
Condensing unit?
Yep. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. And you know, when you're doing maintenance in this building and stuff, sometimes you gotta act, you know what I'm saying? So it is costly. It is costly.
So you told me the other day about the hole. You said it looked like the size of like a 22.
Mhm.
So we don't know if this was vandalism or what. I mean, you don't just randomly get looking like a bullet hole in it, and it is an exposed. And I did ask you for future if there's any way we can put any kind of protection barrier around this so people just can't drive by or walk up with a crime of opportunity. So, you know, I don't know if it's possible to put a $500 wall to protect a $28,000 coil in the future.
Actually, it's going to be part of my landscaping. I don't know if you guys know, across the street over here, we have the James Dean, the big, tall, thin pine trees right out here. I think it's going to look great right in front of it. You can't see it. It's going to be easy for us to get to, and it's not like something that's going to make it real dirty. So that was part of my landscaping this year to do that. So that was the answer to that.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? So I do actually one other. What's the timing on this? If obviously this is first reading. So say this would eventually pass. What's the timing for them to get it fixed at the point it would get passed?
Resolve, I've already called them just to give them the go. It takes about 2 weeks. The coil is in stock. They just have it. It's got to come from like Texas somewhere, you know. So once I get it approved and I have the money, they could probably have it in within 7 business days.
And they would install it though as well. With
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking as it gets warmer, we have at least one more meeting to get through this, and just wanted some clarity on that.
Question.
Yeah.
Is there not a situation where, because of the situation, we can declare this an emergency and get this taken care of tonight?
I don't think so unless legal wants to advise, but when it's an ordinance, yeah, I mean, you know, in the forecast that it's going to cool down. I think we're going to be okay if we get to the next meeting.
We're flying over here on this side.
Just bring those little fans that go underneath, and I think we'll be okay. But I don't think we're need to do any emergency on this.
I was going to say, if the council would allow, I had money released to me for an edit fund. If you would be okay with me spending that money on this, and then we go ahead and approve this, and then once it's approved into the general fund, we can move it back to the edit fund. That's a way to get it done quicker if everyone is okay with that.
I don't know the legals on that one. We would need to get legal. Let's go ahead and get through this meeting. But our legal would need to advise whether that's and controller. I just want some clarity on that.
the funds have already been appropriated without any kind of restriction. So the mayor would have the ability to do this without it.
Okay.
So he can certainly, in my opinion, pay for it now. And the council can still pass this ordinance and replenish the funds at that time.
Okay. I just didn't know with, yeah. No, I agree on the edit fund. I'm thinking more on the controller's end. Is there something with the Board of accounting or anything? Just wanted to make sure we didn't go accounting wise. Okay. Yeah.
I think he was gonna take it from the general fund anyhow, so.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, he'd be authorized to take it from the general fund too, right, Michael?
Yeah, it's just what's unique here is that because it's an appropriation out of money that's not already spent yet, we don't have the 10 days publication in the newspaper.
Sure.
Mhm.
So generally, you can pass an ordinance first reading if you suspend the rules, just that locally, we kind of follow our own rules, right?
Yeah.
So everybody has a unanimous on to pass it. That doesn't help the fact that we haven't published this to have a public hearing on appropriation. That's where it's gonna be hung up on. If we spend it somewhere else, as long as we have the money,
Mhm.
that fits within the category, I think that's fine.
So we spent it out of that and then we pass this the next meeting, that would just go back and backfill, correct?
Think about it in a year, there's a lot of transfers that take place within a year.
Yeah.
The only thing DLGF cares about is that you have buckets of money and you're not overspending intentionally out of those buckets, right? You move it around.
Good enough for me. Just wanted to be sure.
So is everybody okay with that? I don't want to say
I'd say we get it done.
Go ahead and take a vote on it, so it's on.
These folks who work here every day deserve.
Well, the money's already been appropriated for the edit fund. So, I mean, you essentially can do what you want with that. And then we can just move forward with this and then,
Yeah, you don't need that.
yeah. We already gave you permission on the edit fund. Okay. I would just, thank you for the clarity. Just wanted to be sure. Any other questions, council? All right, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, first of all, thank you, Mr. Brunner, for bringing that up, and we can get this fixed and get these people comfortable as this building heats up this summer. So I would like to make a motion to pass appropriation ordinance number 11, 2024 to a second reading and public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Kane, second by Councilman Brunner. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Appropriation ordinance 11, 2024, first reading is passed. It'll move to second reading, public hearing at the next council meeting. And lastly, we're moving on to the Common Council Board of Zoning Appeals appointment. Go ahead, Mr. Councilman Klein. I'll let you speak.
Yeah. I applied for this position, sent in my application and did all that, not realizing that Mr. Moon wanted to re-up, and I will nominate him for the council appointment to the Board of Zoning Appeals. He's been a faithful and good member of that board for years, and there's no real reason to change that. So ignore that I had an application and appoint Mr. Moon. That's my nomination.
Second.
Okay, well, I guess so we have a nomination motion from Councilman Klein, the second from Councilman Kane. Any other discussion? Mr. Moon, you did a great job in the interview, and we appreciate your service to the BZA, and we look forward to you continuing to serve as well. Would you like to come up and in the discussion to? What's that? Sure. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, we had a second. So 1 second. So Madam Clerk, go ahead and take a roll call. The heat's getting to my head.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes, Mr. Moon has been approved. You're welcome to come up, but if you could just keep it really short, because I know everyone's looking at the time and about to die of heat exhaustion. So yeah,
Sit here for about 3 hours.
you're
Listen
fantastic.
to
Thank
these
you.
guys yak, yak, yak. And you
Go ahead
only
and turn the
give
mic
us
on.
3 minutes.
Yeah, go ahead and turn the mic on. Yeah. No, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. I was born and raised in Fairmount, the number 13 child of 14 from my dad. Number 1 through 12 is already gone, so I'm the old man anymore. All my life I've been the kid, now I'm the old man. I spent a few days in Castle Apartments long before it was Castle Apartments. And I went in the Marine Corps with encouragement from the courts. And spent 4 years, came out a sergeant, mainly because I'm Irish. If you want to hear that story, I'll tell you someday. But I got out of the Marine Corps, got a call to the ministry, spent 35 years in the ministry, pastoring, 5 years teaching in a Bible college. And I've spent years as a truck mechanic, 10 years as a union carpenter, 5 years with my own business. Now I'm a journeyman lazy boy operator, experienced sports sitter. And different things.
Yeah.
If you want my card, a business card, I might get some business out of you guys. But I live at 703 East Wazy Street. I bought the house for $15,000 and I put $50,000 plus a year's labor into the house. It's too big for me, so if anybody looking for a big house, I've got one for sale here pretty soon. So I've enjoyed, I think it's either 4 or 8 years, I can't remember.
So for some clarity on that. So the remaining amount left is about
Actually,
3
about 3
years.
So I've been
So
at
this will go to March of 2027.
Yeah, right, right. Actually, my term expired last March. Nobody told me, so I just kept doing what I was supposed to do. That's what they taught in the Marine Corps. Unless somebody tells you something different, just keep doing what you're doing. So I do have a nickname I prefer. Before I can remember, my family said I hopped around like a hobby horse. And they called me Hobby Horse for a while. And that was too long, so they fortunately dropped the horse. And my family name has been Hobby all my life. My friend's name is Hobby. If you don't want to be my friend, that's your choice, but it's just address me as the Honorable Sir Hobby, all right? And that'll be fine. So thank you very much, and thank you for the confidence. And Gary will keep me straight.
Yeah, thanks,
Awesome.
Charles.
He'll try.
Hey,
Thank
we
you.
really do appreciate you for all you do for our community and your volunteering. I don't think you told them that you volunteer at the Veterans Food Bank. We do Second Harvest together twice a month, and Charles is big in that. He has been for years. And then you also go to Muncie or Kokomo on Second Harvest sometimes.
I go
help
to
with that.
I do different places.
And the BZA, and you always keep me up to date and call me if there's something in my district or area or something you think that we need to know about, and I sure do appreciate your service. Thank you.
I am also a mentor for Veteran Treatment Court. And I've had about 5 or 6 men that we've gone through the treatment. There's only one that has gone backwards and going back out. He ended up going to prison. And I enjoy helping these gentlemen, and it's encouraging to me to see the life changes that take place in Veteran Treatment Court. And I do want to applaud our judge, Mark Spitzer. He's not a veteran. You've got to be a veteran to understand a veteran. That's all there is to it. You just can't. But he works, and in fact, Mike, the probation officer, he works real good. They're not veterans, but they can understand us as well as non-veterans can understand veterans. And I have a great nephew coming into the program that I'll be mentoring him. And when I went into the program, I had a great nephew that was in and finished the program. So it's kind of helped my own family. So
Thank you so
very
much. Appreciate it. All right, it's not on here, just real quick. It's real quick. So those might be still listening on YouTube, and for the rest of the council and the mayor's office, chief of staff. So I apologize. Last meeting there was issues with the streaming. I wasn't here. There were some technical issues and some issues. So I just want to remind everyone that's either listening or in here, this is a temporary solution, and we are almost to the finish line. I have been promised that the estimate that we've been needing will be to me by the end of this week for a really nice professional system. And this system will be HD cameras. I'll be able to share the minutes, the agenda, any presentation on a dual screen. So you can see the council meeting and see what we're presenting. And so it'll be a 2-camera system, one on the full council and one on the speaker table. But I just want to tell everyone, please be patient. I'm not trying to make an excuse, but that iPad over there is still better than nothing. And so if you can still get the information, you can hear it and watch it or listen to it. I think it's better than not hearing anything at all. So just everyone, please be patient. We're almost to the finish line of getting a professional system installed here. So other than that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, that's a lot. Everyone's an adjourn. We have a motion by Councilwoman Devine. I know. And a second by, who seconded it? Councilman Klein. Yeah.
Got it right here.
Okay. All the signatures on it? Okay. Where you go, Councilman Fordyce? We haven't adjourned yet.
Well, get on with it.
I was giving Madame Clerk or whatever the time she needed. We need to take a roll call still.
Aye.
Councilman Fordyce.
Aye.
Fordyce. Brunner.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Devine.
Yes.
Witten.
Yes.
Cowgill.
Oh, I'm not sure yet.
McKinley.
Aye. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much. Took some time, but we're doing great things in this community. Oh man, my legs. I have one. I have one for you.
That would be great.
Where? No. I gotta go turn this live stream off too. So give me.
Yes. She will pick me up.
You kicked off something?